Now, when you guys signed Brady, there were a lot of people that immediately expected you guys to go straight to the Super Bowl. And there were some people that said, you know what, it's not going to work. Brady's too old. It's Tampa Bay. Forget about what's in the script. I want to ask you, player to coach, did you go in telling your team, we are good enough to win a Super Bowl and it's Super Bowl or bust? Or were you one of those coaches that said, hey, it's one day at a time. Let's figure it out as we go?
No, it's Super Bowl or bust. That's the goal every year.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't get to the Super Bowl if you don't get in the playoffs. So getting into the playoffs was huge for us. And it's been a fun year. There's a lot of football left, and we're really excited to be playing.
Now, when you guys signed Brady, there were a lot of people.
Hey, Brady, Tom Brady, I'm coming. I want Tom.
Proud of all the guys taking care of business today, but we all know the real season starts now. See you next week. Let's go.
Now let's get it all in perspective. For all y'all enjoyment, a song y'all can step with.
Down after the timeout. A lot of room to run, but Tom doesn't do that. For the end zone, touchdown for the Bucs, Antonio Brown.
I really thought he was going to Scotty Miller in the back of the end zone, and Antonio Brown sees a ball, and he's probably thinking the play before, I should have had one, so I'm just taking it. I love it, though, because this is where defenses are going to be stressed. If Antonio Brown starts to play like this and impact games the way we know he's always done in his career, that
Evolution. Sports Talk Television live here nightly. All Bucs Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about on tonight's show. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. Will you shut up and be quiet? Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television here on a Wednesday night. It's the Sports Web live on Bucs Report. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. On tonight's show, we will have former Buccaneer great Mr. Ricky Reynolds breaking down, of course, that Bucs victory over the Atlanta Falcons 44-27. Get his thoughts on the wild card weekend here on Saturday night. Of course, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers will take on that Washington football team on prime time on NBC at 8:15. Of course, we will have you covered here live on Bucs Report at 6 o'clock for your pregame show. Of course, your pre-half and post-game editions at the Deck Bar and Grill in Isla del Sol. So excited about that. Could be a long night. And, of course, how do we start off the Sports Web, right? How do we do this on a Wednesday night? Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. Again, I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. So without further ado, let's not waste time on sponsors. Let's not waste time with intros. Let's go ahead and go out to a Mr. Ricky Reynolds. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a victory Wednesday, if you will, run the table as we spoke about, beating the Atlanta Falcons 44-27 to go to 11-5. Your thoughts?
Well, it's awesome. I mean, it's incredible. I'm glad that we are having this opportunity to be able to, be in the playoffs once again. So it's a very exciting time. We are looking forward to, this up and coming game. And, I'm sure all the players that have been, playing, Mike Evans, a lot of these guys that have been playing for all these years are finally getting a chance to get a taste of it. And we don't know what's going to happen with Mike Evans, but, most of these guys, man, have been dying to get into these playoffs. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy for that opportunity. Now it's time to go out there and win a game and keep moving.
No, absolutely. You're exactly right. Again, we got former Buccaneer great Mr. Ricky Reynolds on here. If you have a question for him, don't be shy. Get on the phone lines. I don't want to hear this tonight. I don't want to hear crickets because I can't stand that. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Once again, Tom Brady, 4 more touchdowns equals out to 40 touchdowns total for the year. One of his best seasons he's ever had as a quarterback, 43 total touchdowns. Did you ever think in a million years, Ricky Reynolds, that he would have this many touchdowns at 43 years old? It's been an amazing year, right?
It definitely has been an amazing year for Tom, and never would have thought someone of this age, 43 years of age, that he would continue to play on this high level and to have stats like he has. And it seems like he continues to get stronger as the season goes on. He's really throwing the ball well downfield, starting to connect with some of the receivers. So their timing is really starting to mesh. It's gotten better and better during the month of December here. And so hopefully they're really starting to peak now, and that they can just take this thing, into high gear into their first playoff game and, come out there and get a W.
No, absolutely. You're exactly right. Let's talk about the wide receiving position. Mike Evans surpasses Randy Moss to become the single-handedly only wide receiver in NFL history to start out his career with 7 consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons. First and foremost, your thoughts on that. And then did you agree with the decision by this team to continue to play him? I get it. He gets the record. Some fans out there would say, bench him now because he's got the record. But at the end of the day, Ricky, you're trying to win the 5th seed, and he gives you the best chance to win, right?
Yes, I definitely agree. I wanted them to go out there and to continue to play with all their players because these guys have been playing pretty well, and this team has continued to build, and you wanted them to continue to build chemistry, at this point in the season. And so going into the playoffs, you want them to be one of the hot teams. And usually the hot teams are the ones that kind of play well and deep into the playoffs. So I had no problem with them playing, executing, going out there and, fighting for that 5th seed. And now they have the opportunity to play a team, the Washington team that is 7-9. They've lost a lot of ball games. They are a good young ball club. They're on the rise, but a team that I feel we definitely should beat.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about this, Ricky, because they're 7-9 coming into it. But Bruce Arians had some interesting comments on Tuesday. He says, basically, we're not playing a 7-9 football team. We're playing a 4-1 team. When Alex Smith plays, they're 4-1. We're not playing Dwayne Haskins. We're playing Alex Smith. And to that credit, Dwayne Haskins was 1-5. And of course, Washington went 5-1 in games started by Smith, 1-5 games started by Haskins, and 1-3 games started by Kyle Allen. So I look at this offense, right? For 162 yards versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, he's not the same Alex Smith. He's going to take care of the ball. He's going to be a game manager. You feel like this should be an advantage for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially now getting back Shaq Barrett because he has been activated off the COVID list.
Yes, for sure. I mean, like I said, this team has been led by the defense. They have played strong on the defensive side of football. They've kept games very close so that the offense could play manageable type football where they don't turn it over. They, keep the opponent's defense on the field. They slowly march down the field with a great running game and a nice little passing game, and they're able to execute. and to win close games. Defense doesn't give up a lot of points, and the offense, they don't score a lot of points, but they win ball games. So it's all about execution for them and not making mistakes. They have given up 50 sacks, which is a ton, and it's all about trying to get pressure on the quarterback and Alex Smith and company, and just making him throw into some mistakes.
All right, I got to ask you here, Chase Young, a young player. At the first of the broadcast, we showed the highlight. He's calling out Tom Brady, has not backed off those comments. In fact, he says, I play ball. I'm excited to go against the best. The media, their job is to stir it up. If you know me, I'm excited for every game. Tom Brady, you think I'm not excited to play against the GOAT? You're tripping. I'm not going to apologize for saying I want Tom. No, I want every quarterback I play against. And, of course, a lot of people, myself included, thought this was, bulletin board material. You don't want to necessarily do that to Tom Brady. I get it. He wants to play, but was this necessarily the smartest decision by the young man to call out the GOAT? Or once again, it's the National Football League. You would expect that from a player like a Young.
Well, he's definitely young. He's a young guy. He's excited. He's a very talented player. He has a lot of confidence. So he's just, expressing himself. They had just won a big game, and we're going to the playoffs in his rookie year. So this young guy was ready, and he's talking a bunch of noise, and he hasn't had enough game experience yet to be humble. So things like this can humble you quickly. So he'll learn. He'll learn, especially if he gets in this game and Tom eats him up like I would hope he would do.
Yeah, you would think he would. Again, this is a tough defensive line, but besides that, you kind of feel like if you get enough time, and that's the big time key, of course, is Chase Young, in your opinion, going to face a Donovan Smith, or is he going to face a Tristan Wirfs, or are they going to switch sides? And how do you feel about those two matchups? Feel a lot better with Tristan Wirfs, the rookie, versus a Chase Young than a Donovan Smith?
Definitely Tristan Wirfs. He's been solid all year. I think he's given up one sack or something like that. So he's the guy that you would want on the best pass rusher on the team. But if I'm them, I'm not sure which side, if Chase is switching or not. But Donovan Smith is a guy that's probably given up the most sacks on the team, probably, and so I would be challenging him more than anybody else on the offensive line to try to get pressure on the quarterback and get some plays on Brady. So, and if I'm the Buccaneer offense, I'm helping Donovan Smith out with some, chips, maybe bring the tight end on that side to help chip, things like that, just so that, we're a little bit more solid on that side.
No, absolutely. And you look at the Buccaneers, they've only given up 21 times sacks this year, fourth fewest in the league. Now, Tom Brady also had some comments. And Brady, he is what he is. He's gracious, and he's not going to really call somebody out or troll somebody, but he says he's obviously a great young player. We've got our hands full with the D-line, one of the best D-lines in the league. So Chase is a great young player, went to Ohio State. So naturally, I think Ohio State and Michigan thing wears off on him a little bit. I understand that. We're prepared for a tough challenge, and it should be a fun game. Of course, Bruce Arians said, be careful what you wish for at the beginning of the week. You got to love that. He also says he's a hell of a player. Obviously, making him a captain as a rookie speaks volumes. Both those kids from Ohio State, him and Terry McLaurin, are great kids. He's a handful. So is Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, and the rest of those guys. Ryan Kerrigan, I've had a ton of respect for him for a long time. We've had our hands full, but it's one of those games where you better watch what you wish for, going back to those comments. So the offensive line has a challenge here, and a lot of people kind of getting a little bit worried. Should the Bucs be worried about this matchup because of that defensive line, or do you think they can definitely handle business on Saturday night if they give Brady the time? Because that's kind of the big deal here. If you give Brady the time, he's basically going to pick you apart. And not only do you see this offense coming together, and we'll get back to the wide receivers in a moment because we already talked about Evans, but the time that they're giving Brady, when he's got a clean pocket, he's able to basically pick you apart. If not, then he definitely does not deal well with pressure.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, we don't want Brady to be heavily under pressure. And this team is a team that probably relies a little bit more on their four-man defensive front, getting the pressure. And I think that, these young guys are really good. So I'm hoping that, we should be able to hold off on these young guys. We've faced some really good defenses this year. I mean, guys that have put tremendous pressure on our quarterback, things of that nature. I don't know if these guys are that good as, the New Orleans, the Chicago, some of those defensive fronts that we faced. But, we just got to try to protect, like you say, give Tom Brady some time. And, we have the receivers, we have the receivers that can make plays down the field. And all we need is a little bit of time. And I think these guys are really starting to execute and play well together. And I think they'll get that time.
How surprised are you, Ricky, by Antonio Brown? I mean, the thing was when he came in, the question was not necessarily his talent on the field, but what he would bring to the locker room. Was he going to be a nuisance? Was he going to be a distraction? And he hasn't been any of those things. And he went over 100 yards receiving. Yeah, Chris Godwin went over 100 yards receiving. So hypothetically, let's say that Mike Evans doesn't play in this game. Are you confident going forward with both of these wide receivers versus this Washington defense with a Godwin and a Brown?
Yes, I'm definitely confident with Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, those guys leading this attack. Antonio Brown has been a number one receiver, so he knows what it's like to be out there and to be the guy. And I think he's up for the challenge. I am definitely not surprised by the way he has played. I always knew he had it in him to be a great player. He has great work ethic, and has always done well on the field. It's just been kind of like off the field, or some of the things that he said in social media and those things that have brought him down. And the only thing I would be surprised at is that he has kept himself quiet and humble after all the outbursts he's had the last couple of years. And it's a pleasant surprise. But he's become a team player, and I think he's probably has been a team player before. But it's great for this organization to have Antonio Brown and playing on this high level. It's going to be a big asset to this Buccaneer team.
And speaking of a big asset to the sports web, that would be Buccaneer great, former Buccaneer great, Mr. Ricky Reynolds. He's still great here because he's on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. And if you want to talk to the great, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. If you had the decision to make, would you play Mike Evans in this game, or would you rest him? A hyperextended knee, you look at the replay, Buccaneers very fortunate. This could have got very ugly.
Yes, I was pretty worried when I saw it, and then never heard the reports of what was going on for a while, and so we were definitely concerned about Mike Evans. Good to hear that, just a hyperextension, and he'll be okay. It just really depends on the stability of the knee and how Mike is feeling. I mean, I would want him close to 100% as possible, because like you said, I believe this is a game that with him or without him that this team should win. And if they do, you want him to be 100% going into into that next round. And so if you're looking at me, I'm really looking hard and to see where he is. If he's only 75%, 80%, I'm holding him out. I mean, he has to be, I think, 90% or better for me to go out there and play him.
Have you ever had a hyperextended knee before, or can you give us an idea of the extent of that injury?
No, I can't. I never had a hyperextended knee. Okay. So I'm not sure, how that feels, or the stability of it. I have had, surgery on the knee, orthoscopic on the, not on the cartilage, some cartilage that got torn out of there and things like that. And, just had to kind of work yourself back into, playing weight and being able to move and cut, on the field is probably some of the most important things, being able to get in and out of your breaks and stuff and not think about it, not allow it to affect you mentally. But other than that, he just has to prayerfully have a chance to kind of work it out to see how it'll feel, and hopefully he can do that before the game.
All right, let me go back out to the webheads here, read these comments. Don't want to neglect these guys because they may have a question. Let's see here, official Chico says, where's Peter? Let's go, Peter Blake. I'm here for you guys. What uniform will they be wearing Saturday at the wild card game? I believe it's the white one because they're on the road. All right, let's see here. Go Bucs says sitting. Mike says, I don't know what he's saying there. Is it me, or did the Bucs change up the offensive plays? Not so vertical all the time. Seems like they kind of change it up to hit the crossing routes, then let Brady feel comfortable and toss it downfield. Just my opinion. Do you feel like they've kind of changed the offense up there, Ricky, for Brady to, enhance those strengths instead of those weaknesses? Because we've seen the running game also come to fruition, which has opened up the pass play action. And you notice that Brady, when he has that clean pocket, he's very accurate down the field. A lot of people talking about, his accuracy issues, but that has not been the case the last 4 games.
Yes, I think it's been point on the last 4 games. I think these guys have really ironed out a lot of issues that they've had in the deep passing game. I think he's adjusted to the receivers and how they like the ball and where to place it and things of that nature. So I think he has improved in them areas, and it's just been a work in progress, And I believe as far as the passing game goes, that they started doing more of the crossing routes and the shorter type routes probably midway through the season. I started seeing it more and more, especially when Gronk started taking off. That was around, 5th, 6th game of the season. They started implementing a little bit more of that because I felt like Brady was getting hit too much. He's having to hold on to the ball too long. So, they had to put in some plays to where he can get rid of the ball quickly and not take too much of the brunt of those hits that he was getting by holding the ball, waiting for guys to get open down the field. So I think they've been working on it for a while, but I think it's finally coming to fruition that these guys are starting to execute and make some great plays for this team.
And they're really scary right now. I mean, there's not a playoff team out there, in your opinion, that really wants to play this offense or even in this defense, because this defense is somewhat played well, right?
Yes. Especially offense. Offense has been deadly. They've been, scoring consistently. They put points on the board when they have to, and the defense has been what they've been doing is really a great job of making opponents have to work down the field in order to score points. And they've been, doing a pretty good job in the red area and things like that. So they're coming on strong. I think they're all starting to feel a little confident in where they are, and hopefully they can keep it going.
Absolutely. All right, let's go back out to the webheads here. Sitton says, if the defense can stay in, man, it's all about the defense. I think that's what he's saying. Carl says, this is the game to get blitz happy. Alex Smith was falling down every time an Eagles player ever touched him. Did you notice that? Because he doesn't have the same mobility, and Smith is, somewhat had the mobility. Of course, he's always a game manager. Does it look like he lost mobility there? And if Shaq and JPP, and once again, Shaq has been cleared, he's off the COVID list, so he's most likely going to play on Saturday night. Do you think that offensive line, the Washington football team's offensive line, can hold up versus this Bucs defensive line, which, JPP, Shaq Barrett, both together, they can really cause some havoc here, right, Ricky?
They can definitely cause some havoc, and I'm sure these guys are going to be up for it. It just all depends on, what type of game plan that Todd Bowles comes out with, because, we want to be able to get as much pressure as we can. And I think Alex Smith is been hurting, with that calf injury, and he got out there, mainly just to help his team win, and what they were able to do, because he's the one that's able to, move these guys down the field, not throw into interceptions and things of that nature, and to put W's up. And so he did what he had to do to get on the field, but I don't think he's close to being 100%. I think, he's struggling. I'm hearing reports that they may even be switching quarterbacks at times, and I think he's still banged up. And they know what their kind of pressure they're going to get with this Buccaneer defense coming at them. And I wish Devin White was out there, because, man, he gets after the quarterback, So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But if he's not out there every play, they're going to be in trouble.
How much of a loss is White to this defense? And do you think the NFL kind of screwed the Buccaneers by, not trying to expand that game to Sunday instead of Saturday night? Why didn't they put it on Sunday night prime with Tom Brady? Why Saturday night?
I have no idea why they put him on Saturday now. I mean, I don't know if they already had, the seedings as far as who were playing who. No matter what the teams were, we're going to play these guys, on Saturday and these guys on Sundays or what have you. But yeah, it definitely did screw him. I think Alvin Kamara over at the Saints, I believe he's going to be able to play because of that same situations. And I was kind of scratching my head like, well, how come Devin White can't play? But it's, like you said, because he's playing on Saturday. So yeah, we definitely got screwed on that one. And they will, they do miss him. I mean, he's a guy that makes big plays, if it's, intercepting the ball, causing a fumble, making sacks, getting pressure on the quarterback. He makes big plays, and he's a guy that you want on your field, and especially a game like this, he would be playing with a high motor, and I'm sure if he was in this playoff game, he would definitely make an impact.
Yeah, I mean, 140 tackles, 9 sacks, all over the place. It seems like Todd Bowles has definitely unleashed him these last couple of weeks. He's definitely been a big part, more of a part of this defense than he was last year. What are your thoughts about Kevin Minter, a veteran, solid guy, 9 tackles, 6 solo? How do you think he played versus the Falcons? And do you think that they won't miss a beat? I get it, the explosive nature of White and all the plays he can make, but it's not really a step down with the Minter, right? Because he has been a veteran in this league.
Yeah, Kevin Minter, he's a great, really great player at his position, to be in reserve, to come in and fill a hole that's in need. And he'll play well. He'll go out there, like you said, he won't be that impact player like Devin White is as far as making those big plays, but he'll be solid. He'll make tackles when he's needed to make tackles. And he won't be a guy that's going to be the cause or effect of them, losing a game. It won't be because of him. So he'll be a solid player in the middle.
All right, let's read these comments here, and then I'm going to ask you, what the Bucs should do schematically defensively, because once again, you played in the NFL. Former Buccaneer great Mr. Ricky Reynolds here on the Sports Web. If you have a question for him, and you guys are quiet tonight, 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. These guys sometimes crack me up. All right, let's go out to Mike D. Roche. 99 will get his handed to him by Werfs. Christopher Cole says, are we still playing in Washington, or are they going to move the game to a different place or day? Have no idea. I'm not going to even comment on that. This game is in Landover, Maryland. Absolutely. Ricky says Eric Scott. Sean says play him, use him as a decoy. Is that a possibility to use Evans as a decoy to play him, or you don't even take the chance because you feel like he could really aggravate that knee injury and it could be a long-term thing? And in your opinion, the Bucs really can't afford to miss out on Evans.
Yes, they can't miss out on Evans, and you don't put him out there unless he can play football, unless he can be a factor in the game. You do not want him out there as a decoy because, anything can happen. Anything can happen, and he can get injured, worse, in a different type of way. So we want him to go out there when he's ready to play and to catch footballs.
All right, good stuff there. Let's go back out to the webheads here. Let's see. Blake Anthony says, Ricky, a.k.a. Shaft. Do you know the song? Can you sing the song?
Don't ask me to sing.
I don't ask you to sing, but, there's been people on this show that have sang before and are not very good singers. Tampa Bay Ray. It's the same plays. The execution is what has gotten better. Do you agree with that? I mean, it's the same plays. A lot of people saying Blake Anthony is saying that at Sports Talk 49. It's execution. I know there's a lot of Bucs fans that were in favor of execution of this offense, firing coaches and offensive coordinators. Is the biggest change to this offense is the fact that they're executing finally. It's not just the play calling.
I believe so. I believe it's all about the execution. And like I said before, I think Brady has really gotten his timing down, with the receivers. I think, even with the offensive line, the protection calls, all of that comes a factor in how a play is run. So everybody's on the same page. There were so many mistakes early on in the season where if it was protection, if it was the routes not being run right, if it was blitz adjustments, there's so many breakdowns. And so now I think these guys are finally have all gotten it. Everybody's, starting to work well with one another. And you see execution. And now you see, a lot of plays being made and the offense being as powerful as we thought it would be.
All right, let's go back out to the webheads here. Let's see. Of course, he's lost mobility. He has one leg. Volume TV, we need to bust Smith up. Sean says Mike on the field changes everything for the defense. If he's 80%, put him out there, make them respect him. Sean says, I see both sides. Mike, just his presence on the field, 13 could be psychological. Do you agree with that psychological thing? If Mike Evans is on the field, I mean, does that play into it? You played in the league before. We always talk about it. Is that a psychological thing where a team can play games? Has there ever been a moment where you were on the field and you knew a guy wasn't necessarily 100%, but it kind of psyched out the team because he was just there?
Yeah, well, if you have, the number one receiver, a guy of Mike Evans' stature, 7 years in a row, 1,000 yards, you have to respect him. He's on the field. Most teams we played double him, automatically. So when he's on the field, it's going to get your attention. Where he lines up. If I'm a corner, he's coming to my side. All right, I'm putting my my game face on. I'm ready to go because I'm in front of Mike Evans. So he definitely commands attention. The safeties are going to rotate that way. So I understand what everybody is saying, because of who Mike Evans is, he'll cause a little attention over on the left or right side of the field. Now that that'll leave Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown a little bit more extra room to move around and execute.
All right, let's go back out to the webheads here, read some more comments. Harold says Evans just needs to sit this one out. The Bucs have had enough to beat the Washington football team. Need Evans for the long haul. Eric says, what do you think about the execution of your offense right now? I'm in favor of it. John McKay, good stuff. Blake Anthony, I'm sure Ricky will agree. The way to slow down Washington's pass rush is screens and runs, get them tired with long drives, and then start hitting them with play action passes. We talk about it all the time. The victim of volume, just a little bit short of that 1,000 yards. But really, this has to be their catalyst. It has to be their running game. And that's the way you take away a pass rush like the Washington football team has, right? A Ronald Jones, a Leonard Fournette, possibly even a Shady McCoy or Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yeah, that's what you do. You pound them. You pound them, you wear them out, you get long drives, and you just keep them on the field. And, like Blake Anthony said, you hit them with screens, you hit them with different things and try to mix them up and tire these guys out. The longer they're on the field, the tireder they're going to get. And it's just, and that's one thing we have to do is we need to run the football, and that's going to be the difference in the ball game and the difference in these playoffs. If we're able to execute up front, open up some holes, and allow Ronald Jones to, do what he does best, and that's run that football.
In your opinion, the victim of volume and a Jones, do you think he can get it done? Is he the best running back on this team to get it done going forward?
Yep, without a doubt. He's definitely the best running back that, we have. He's, just has a solid feel for, the offensive line, what they're doing, hitting the blocks. He's running very hard, now. And, he's the guy, and he's the one that we need to depend on in our running game.
All right, let's go back out to the webheads here. Some interesting comments. Let's get Rojo rolling early in the game. Eric Scott says, Ricky and Pete's thoughts on Zubaz pants in the 80s, yay or nay? I've got to admit to something right now, and I never thought I was going to admit to this. I had a pair of those pants, Tampa Bay Buccaneer style. They were ugly. I don't know what I was thinking. So I will say nay, but I did have a pair. I think there's a lot of styles that a lot of people had, the fanny packs in the 80s. Ricky, your thoughts on those pants?
Let me tell you, they were very comfortable.
Right, exactly.
They were very comfortable pants. They didn't look very good.
They didn't.
No, but they were very comfortable. And I had a few pairs of them. And you know, I hate to admit, I used to wear them around too.
Yeah, I blame it on you. I seen you guys doing it. So, you football players are the role models of the youth. And at the time, I was watching you guys do it. So, hell, I did it too. Didn't necessarily look that good. Good stuff there. All right. Mike says, long drives eat the clock. Washington can't score if we control the clock. Mike again. Can you explain the victim of volume? The explanation of the victim of volume is he doesn't get enough volume. He doesn't get enough carries. Ricky, I feel like if Ronald Jones would get 20 to 25 carries a game, he would be over 1,000 yards. Consequently, if he didn't miss the second to last game of the year, most likely would have got 1,000 yards. But I feel like they keep on having him bottled up. They don't give him enough carries. Would you agree with that? Do you like that nickname, a victim of volume?
I do. He definitely doesn't get enough carries, especially early on in the year. I mean, they were just so inconsistent. If we fell behind, they would immediately go straight to the passing game and abandon the running game. So Ronald Jones is a guy that you just keep handing him the ball. Eventually, he's gonna break one here, then he's gonna break one there, and then things are gonna happen, and that opens up the run, the passing game, the play action passes and things of that nature. So you have to try to be disciplined and stay focused on what you want to do as far as running the football, especially right now in the playoffs. You're going up cold weather team. You don't know what the weather's going to be like, if it's going to be windy, if the ball is going to be slick. You have to be able to run the football in these conditions and at this time of the year.
Just say it one time. I'm not going to ask you to say the Shaft reference. Just say it. Victim of volume.
The victim of volume. Yes.
Right there. That's money. Let's go back out to the web heads here and read more comments. I also should add, change the tempo in the game when you see defenders with hands on their hips. Tracy says, 22 yards shaking my head. Blake says, Ricky, you have officially lost the Shaft nickname for wearing those pants. New name. Hey, Blake Anthony, would you shut up? This is what I got for you right there.
Hey, Blake, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. It's a secret.
You can go back and see the pictures. They're out there. It's called the internet. It's kind of crazy when you put something up there. Give Rojo 30 carries, run. Tracy says, yeah, but we have multiple really good running backs. I mean, look, Leonard Fournette is what he is. I don't necessarily think he's the best. I believe that Ronald Jones is better for this team. There were some coaches, and we've heard this before, the reason why Fournette was picked up, not only because he's been a 1,000-yard rusher, but also he's good in pass protection. In your opinion, have you seen Jones get better in pass protection throughout the year?
Oh, yes. He steadily has gotten better throughout the course of the year. He's a better pass receiver as well as a pass protector. And he has stepped up and improved his game. I mean, after, the staff and, the administration started bringing in all these running backs. I mean, I would step my game up as well. They brought in a lot of different backs here. And in order to stay on the field, you have to be able to play at a high level during the passing game and also during the run. So, he's done that, and I think he's improved and he's playing much better.
Absolutely. All right, let's go out to Eric Scott here. He says, Ricky, thoughts on cornerback matchup? Maybe a stupid question, but matching height, speed more important or matching overall talent more important? Let's apply this to the game. Terry McLaurin, somewhat of a speed option there, very productive wide receiver, possibly versus a Carlton Davis or Sean Murphy-Bunting or Jamel Dean. J.D. McKissick, 80 catches out of the backfield. First and foremost, how does the back end match up against those wide receivers and tight ends, namely a Logan Thomas of the Washington football team? And then the second question if you're the Tampa Bay defense and Todd Bowles? Do you keep everything in front of you? You challenge Alex Smith to throw the ball down the field because he can't? And do you squat on those short routes and basically watch for that screen or the flat passes to a McKissick?
Well, you definitely have to be careful with what you're doing. You don't want to be squatting too often, but I think the way that they've been playing a lot ever since after the Kansas City game is they've been playing a defense, a lot of zone to where they're keeping things in front of them, allowing the offense to throw passes underneath them and kind of rally and get them in third down situations and try to get off the field that way. And with some of these receivers, I mean, what you can do is you can try to take the McLaren, their best receiver out. Just kind of double him wherever he is. Have a particular matchup, lean the safety to that side. You kind of take him out and force him to be able to throw to some of the other players. I do think we can match up with some of these guys and be able to compete and do well. They are good players. They have a solid team, but nobody that I'm really scared of. These guys are very low in the totem pole in the National Football League as far as offense is presented. They're not, I would say, super explosive, but you have to respect them. Keep everybody in front. And just play smart and be able to get off in third down situations.
A lot of people kind of relate this moment to when the Saints were 11-5. They went to Seattle. Seattle was 7-9. Is this the same situation, or are we making too much of a big deal about it? The Washington football team is 7-9. There's a reason why they're 7-9. They're not explosive. They have a quarterback that's not necessarily the best. They definitely depend on their defense. But if the Bucs come out and have a fast start, this Washington football team is not designed to come back, right?
You're exactly right. They're not an explosive football team. If we get a good lead and continue to put on the gas pedal, allow it to just the points to just pile up, we can we should be able to dominate and do well. This team, most of the games that they've won, they've beat a lot of losing teams, a lot of teams that don't have great records. If you look back at some of their wins, but they are 7-9. They've made the playoffs. They have a lot of confidence, so they're going to come in here with a little swag and stuff and think that they have a chance. But we got to jump on them early and force them to have to rely on trying to play catch up, and that's when they'll be in our hands.
All right, so then let me go back out to the webheads here. Bucs Report says I want a pair now, so there you go. Kickoff weather, +7 and sunny. It could be cold. My only concern is our secondary at times. Let's get back to that point in a moment. Let's read the rest of these comments. Rojo gives us the best chance to win. Tracy says, I think we need to run more. However, get McCoy going with his explosiveness and agility catching out of the backfield. No? Do you agree with that? Can you incorporate McCoy, or can you get that same production out of a Jones and out of a Fournette, or maybe possibly a Keyshawn Vaughn?
Yeah, I mean, Shady McCoy is nice. He's nice. He has a lot of experience, plays well. I don't think you necessarily, have to play him. I think, like you said, we have other guys that can do similar things. And I believe Ronald Jones is the main cowbell. You want to put him in there and allow him to get most of the reps and allow McCoy. Huh?
Say it, Ricky. Say it again.
Well, we got to allow Ronald Jones to be the cowbell. He's the one that needs to be in there getting the ball most of the time. Okay, flat out. That's it. And everybody else, fill in, give him a break, and help out.
All right, I just wanted you to say the VOV again. That's all. That's what I wanted.
Say.
Everyone actually ran the ball straight at Young. How did he do? I mean, against the run, this Washington football team, the Bucs are number one. We all know that. But in your opinion, can this Washington football team stop this running game? Or basically, that's where you beat them once again, is with this running game. That's how you slow them down. So they're not very good against the run, right?
Well, they're not bad. I mean, they're not a bad defense, believe it or not. That's why they have been winning football games, is because they've been playing really solid defense. And I would say that's what you do against a team that's very good at pass rushing is you definitely want to run the ball at them, and that slows them down and wears them out. So you definitely want to do that. We want to attack them with the run and put more pressure on them that way. Then that sets up, the play action pass and slows down the rush.
All right, let's go out to Tracy. We play different against the team with the defensive line. I tend to agree with that because, again, when Brady faces that pressure, he definitely has the difficulty of trying to overcome it. You have Jonathan Allen, you have a Deron Payne. So those two big hosses from Alabama in the middle are tough. And, of course, we talk about not only Chase Young, but also a Montez Sweat. So they definitely have the talent. And, of course, Ryan Kerrigan, who is a veteran. Give me a weakness on this team. Is it the secondary? Is it a Sean Murphy Bunting and a Carlton Davis and, of course, a Jamel Dean and Antoine Winfield and a Whitehead and an Edwards that concern you? Is this the biggest concern for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into postseason, in your opinion?
I would say yes, probably defensively, because if our defense plays well, we'll win ball games. And I believe the area that you have to be concerned with is the passing game. Can these guys make plays when they're throwing the ball down the field? Because teams seem to execute and are able to move the ball, but we end up making a play here and there and they're able to get off the field. But, come playoff time, that's when you're playing the best. And you want them to be able to step up, make plays when they're, throwing the ball down the field and, team is beginning to execute. And the defensive backs have to step up. And I don't think they've been, playing on a high level consistently. I think that's been the biggest thing is their consistency. They'll make plays here and there, and then they'll give up stuff here and there. And then all of a sudden, here comes our pass rush. They'll make a big play, and boom, all of a sudden we're off the field. So I'm concerned about the pass defense in the secondaries is where I'll be concerned with the most.
Any other concern?
Just keeping Tom Brady healthy. Just making sure that the offensive line holds up and that they don't allow the opposing team's defense to come in there and to bang him up. Too early in the ball game. Just gotta keep him upright.
All right, good stuff. I'm talking about pounding the rock at Young, says Sean. Eric says, in my opinion, I feel like Chase Young is a Jadeveon Clowney that doesn't take off nearly as many plays, if any at all. Do you agree with that? Jadeveon Clowney, is that what you see with the Mr. Chase Young?
Possible. Jadeveon Clowney has a high motor now. He tries to get after you, But Chase Young is the same way. He's a guy that has a big motor. But I think he probably has it running, pretty much 100% of the time, and very confident. And I think he plays the run just as well as the pass. I think he's an all-around player.
All right, let me go back here. I got to read this comment. Mike says, Ricky is the VOV, the victim of volume. I definitely don't think he gets enough publicity of being one of the greatest Bucs of all time. I'm sorry. I agree. Hopefully we can use that speed against them. Bucs Time 12 James says, if we lose in the playoffs, I can pretty much guarantee it will be due to coaching, specifically not running Rojo enough. Mike says, FedEx Field, not a good track. And Tracy says, I know our identity is blitzing, but what can we do differently to improve our defensive scheme? What can you do differently if the blitz doesn't work? Because Alex Smith, most likely he's going to get rid of the ball quick. And we've seen this defense at points during the year have problems with quarterbacks, namely a Drew Brees, getting rid of the ball quick. So what can you do to adjust to basically stifle the offense?
Well, you can have tighter coverage, and that's one thing that you do with against offenses or quarterbacks that like to get rid of the ball quickly, like Drew Brees, guys of that nature that have a quick passing game. You have to get up there and you have to start, pressing the receivers or playing the receivers tighter so that it's not their passing routes aren't open right away. If you're playing a soft zone and you're playing off, you give the receivers a lot of space to find those alleys and cracks in those zones or in man-to-man coverage to catch, the little quick passes. So, get up on the receivers, press them, and make the quarterback hold the ball.
All right, 2 more questions, and I'll get you out of here. What are your thoughts on John Lynch and Rondé Barber being finalists in the Hall of Fame? Should they already be in the Hall of Fame, and which one do you think gets in, or could they both get in as a Tampa treat with the Super Bowl being in their own backyard?
Ooh, boy. I don't know if they'll both get in at the same time. I mean, it would be nice. I think ooh, man, that's a good one. But I think both of them are well deserving to be in and should get in eventually. But I think John Lynch will probably get in first. I'm trying to think of some of the guys that are going in and who would take vote from them.
Well, I give you Peyton Manning, a Calvin Johnson, a
Charles Woodson.
Leroy Butler, but I look at Leroy Butler and you compare him to John Lynch. I feel like John Lynch is a better player. You got a Charles Woodson, yes, dynamic player, did a lot of things, but Rondé Barber at the end of the day has something that no other corner has. He has 20 sacks and over 40 interceptions. And the whole excuse of, well, he's a system player. Look, Jerry Rice is a system player. Every player is a freaking system player. Come on.
Right. You're right. Every player is a system player. No matter who you are, whatever system you play in, it'll fit you well. Certain systems fit you better than others, and you become great because of a particular system. And Rondé Barber did his thing in our system and played well, just like Sapp, just like Derrick Brooks,
right.
Just like John Lynch, all these guys played well in the Buccaneer Tampa 2 system. And he is definitely deserving of being in the Hall of Fame because look at the stats, look at the plays he's made. His name needs to be in Canton.
Yeah, and one of the greatest plays in not only playoff history with playoffs, Rondé Barber, 92-yard interception return in the NFC Championship game in 2002. And John Lynch, one of the most clutch safeties of all time. In fact, he has more clutch interceptions than any safety in NFL history. If that's not grounds for Hall of Fame, I think there should be an investigation. Speaking of that, prediction time. Washington football team versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Saturday night, primetime on NBC. Who wins and why?
Well, I believe the Buccaneers, no doubt, will win this game. And I think the reason being is because they're just going to dominate. I don't think the Washington's defense, who has been pretty stellar all year, is going to be able to hold down Tom Brady and company. And the Washington offense is going to be overwhelmed after they fall behind by the Buccaneer defense, who's going to, put something on them special. And we win the game handily.
Handily. All right. So Tom Brady, 2 or 3 touchdowns in this game and a defensive turnover, maybe a pick 6 or because Alex Smith, he doesn't usually throw interceptions, but he had 2 interceptions versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Look, the Eagles are not a bad defense, but they're ain't the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So is that a possibility in your opinion?
It's definitely a possibility. And like I said, I think he's banged up and with that injury in that leg, he's, kind of protecting himself and it can get you in trouble as a quarterback. And he's able to throw a few. And if he's not healthy, he's definitely going to throw some this week.
All right. Buccaneer great, former Buccaneer great. I still think he's a Buccaneer great. Ricky Reynolds here.
Yes, sir.
Here on the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television. And I know we keep on teasing it, but we got to get you on the Sports Web one of these days for one of these playoff games. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution on Wednesday night. All right.
All right. Thank you, Peter. We'll see you next week.
All right. Sounds good. There you go. Mr. Ricky Reynolds here on the Sports Web. You got to love it. I mean, don't you love that? Don't you love hearing from a former NFL football player talking about schematics, talking about strategy, talking about what this team should do? What do you guys think? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. So we will need to shore up the underneath crossing routes that will help us get to Alex. Sean says missing White will hurt. I agree with you on that. Mike says 41-19 Bucs. Sean says 35-20. Tracy says 40-9. I love these predictions. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons. Yeah. Let me do that, and let me go ahead and do this.
Playoffs?
Yeah, Jim.
Talk about playoffs?
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Yes.
Playoffs?
We're talking playoffs tonight. Playoffs, absolutely. Your Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Washington football team on Saturday night. Once again, we'll be live at the Deck Bar and Grill in Isla del Sol for your pre, half, and post-game editions of the Sports Web. Is there another Bucs platform that gives you all that access, that gives you the opportunity to talk about your favorite team during the game? Again, 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. We'll be on at 6 o'clock. We'll be getting you ready. Yours truly, Blake Anthony at Sports Talk 49. We'll have my professional handicapper, Harry the Greek, my co-host, Mr. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, and an assortment of guests. And you never know who's going to tune in. You never know who's going to come on and may call in. And, of course, we'll hear from the webheads, as always, because you guys make this show. And if you're a Bucs fan and you have nowhere to go and you don't want to sit at home on a Saturday night, then get down to the Deck Bar and Grill in Isla del Sol. We got a camera. It's 4K. We got lights. We got mics. We got mixers. This is a professional setup. This is the evolution of sports talk television. And what is the evolution? Is it a radio show? Is it a TV show? It's both. It's live here on Bucs Report Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and, of course, game days. And when we get to that offseason, and I think it's going to be a long postseason, because what have I said from the very get-go? Super Bowl or bust. Don't be afraid of that expectation. Don't be afraid of it. BA said it on Good Morning Football. Super Bowl or bust. Keep on saying it. Keep on wishing for it. And then if you keep on thinking about it, you wish it into existence, it will happen. 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. This is awesome. Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate you. Where is the bar? In Isla del Sol, Tierra Verde. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Right past St. Pete. And go on the Bucs Report page. Go on. Look, friend me, Peter H. Blake. You friend me, I'll write back to you. Just don't stalk me. Don't stalk me. Don't write me every minute of the day. Don't write me at 3 o'clock in the morning, although I may be up. Because this is my life. This is what I do. The Sports Web is ingrained. It is the DNA of Bucs Report. 727-255-0391. Let me go out to Mike here. I will be at the bar next year. Mark my words. Sounds good. Definitely, says Tracy. And like I said, you come out. I don't care if you're a Bucs fan. You're a Ravens fan. Hell, you're a Cowboys fan. You're crying in your beer. You want to get on the Sports Web? I'll be your counselor. I'll be your psychiatrist, if you will, your sports psychiatrist, to basically tell you everything is going to be all right. And at the end of the night, once you get that great food, that great service at the Deck Bar and Grill, you'll be aces. All right, so let's go out to our guest here. Actually, let me read this comment really quick. Pete, let me buy you an old Zubaz. Offer you nearly impossible to find creamsicle Zubaz anywhere. Well, I have some, but they're buried long, long ago. And Tracy is laughing about that. So let me go out to Mr. Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats, What's Cooking in the South. And let me go out to my professional handicapper, Mr. Harry the Greek, who is just chiming along there, grooving along, as we are only a couple of days away, guys, from Tampa Bay Buccaneer football, playoff football versus the Washington football team here. Rick and Harry, welcome to the Evolution.
Hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey. So, yes, we have the comments today by Mr. Chase Young, and it doesn't seem like he's backing down from those comments, and that's okay. I like that. I want to hear what he has to say when the Bucs really give it to him, but this is what he had to say today. I play ball. I'm excited to go against the best. The media, their job is to stir it up. If you know me, I'm excited for every game. Tom Brady, you think I'm not excited to play against the GOAT? You tripping. I'm not going to apologize for saying that. That's his words. I'm sorry. I'm not.
You tripping.
Stir that pot, Peter. Stir that pot.
Stir it up. Stir it up, baby. Stir it up like a porridge or a soup, because it is cold outside here. And a lot of Floridians not used to the cold, because a lot of Floridians are Chihuahuas. They have no fur. That's how I feel when I go out and take out Alexander. Now, No, I want every quarterback I play against. He also says, ask any edge rusher in the league who they want to sack, and most might say Tom Brady. He also says they'll have fun with it. Actually, Ron Rivera says they'll have fun with it. You've got to chalk it up to youthful exuberance. That's what, again, Ron Rivera says. I do cringe, but at the same time, I smile at it because he loves playing the game. I think that's what it's all about. That's who Chase is. That's the kind of guy we want on our football team. He also says, that being Chase Young, I'm definitely excited to play the GOAT. They say the greatest of all time. It's go time. Your thoughts here, Rick Hughes, the young man not backing off from the comments. Good for him, right?
Sure. I mean, I laugh at it. It's like, okay, that's great. Keep talking. But, you know, we mentioned this before. Michael Jordan looking for ways, inventing ways in his head to motivate himself. You're just giving Tom Brady, you're making it easier on him. You know, I mean, and if that's what it takes for you to get yourself psyched up, knock yourself out. But the problem is you're also maybe helping the other team do the same thing. It's all good. Good for you. You stood by your words. You hedged them a little bit, but okay. I mean, the bottom line, when he said it, he was jacked up after a game, all the adrenaline flowing. Okay. And yeah, he probably shouldn't have said it. But really, did you think he was thinking anything different? I mean, I like what Arian said. After all of the words that in Arian's reply, he finished it simply with, be careful what you ask for.
That's it. I mean, and he said, Harry, how talented he is as a player, of course, being in the captain of the Washington football team. He's definitely up for defensive rookie of the year. So he's no slouch. He's number 2 overall pick. So he's going to talk his trash, but not backing down from it. Are you surprised that he didn't back down today?
No, I mean, what's he supposed to do? Back down, and then he's going to look, ridiculous. But I did hear Rick say the word hedge. That's a betting term, Rick. And by the way, this gambler, I assure you of one thing, never hedges. But neither should he either. And if he's hedging, that means he might be a little scared.
Right. That's
really all. I mean, honestly, I think that I think these 2 minutes that we've wasted, nothing personal, talking about what he's got to say. Trust me, Tom Brady could care less.
Well, I had to stir the pot, of course, because
hold on. Look, full screen. Here we go.
Hold on.
No, I'm not frozen. Just kidding. Stir that pot, baby. Stir that pot.
Yeah, stir it up. Stir it up.
Stir it up.
Because that's what we do here.
It's going to be like a tornado going into Washington. Just stir that pot.
Exactly. Now, Brady says he's obviously a great player. We got our hands full with that D-line, one of the best D-lines in the league. So Chase is a great young player, went to Ohio State. Naturally, I think Ohio State-Michigan thing wears off on him a little bit. I understand that. We're prepared for a tough challenge, and it should be a fun game. And then once again, Bruce Arians says he's a hell of a player. Obviously, making him a captain as a rookie speaks volumes. Both those kids from Ohio State, him and McLaren, are great kids. He's a handful. So is Montez Sweat. Deron Payne, and the rest of those guys. Ryan Kerrigan, I've had a lot of respect for him for a long time. We have our hands full, but it's one of those games where you better watch what you wish for. So the matchup for me, it always goes back to this, that offensive line with the Donovan Smith. They've only given up 21 sacks here, Rick. In your opinion, can this offensive line handle that Washington front to make things so much easier for Tom Brady, in your opinion?
Yes. I respect Harry's opinion. I respect Johnny Dean's opinion. I respect the opinion of the people who think otherwise. My opinion, I don't get it. He's got 7 sacks. Okay. None of them are double-digit sacks on their team either. Our defensive line is better than their defensive line. That's all they have.
What was that? Line. Whose defensive line is better?
The Buccaneers.
Versus Washington?
Yes.
Okay. No. No,
It
sorry. I'm
okay.
sorry. It's not. I mean, Washington's defensive line is the best in football by far. Okay. They're going to get about 4 or 5 sacks on Brady in this game, but it's not going to matter.
Why do you say that when they don't have those
Listen,
stats?
because the way, listen, I broke these games down and I've watched 7 games in the past 2 weeks, both teams. The way that Tampa plays their offense, they're a pass for football team. Trust me, if Tampa comes out like they have been against their last 3 games, pass, 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 run, pass, 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 run, that's going to enable them to get rush. And they're not going to even have to bring blitzes. They are going to put pressure on Tom Brady. I'm not saying that the Buccaneers are losing this game. It's going to be close in the first half, and Tampa's going to pull away from the game, but they are going to get pressure on him. Washington does not, by any means, struggle against immobile quarterbacks that are not very mobile. Their problem is when they face quarterbacks that are very mobile. And I can give you examples if you like, but there's not enough time in the show. But just trust me when I tell you, they're gonna get pressure on Brady
I hear you.
unless they're doing 1-2-3 pass, 1-2-3 pass. Trust me. But Tom Brady in this offense wants 5 to 7 step drops and throw the ball deep. That's when they're going to get pressure.
So, Rick, let me ask you this. If we know how talented this Washington defense is, and they certainly seem like they're very talented, would the obviously the game plan be to run the ball, come out and run the ball, and then once you've got them in that 8-man in the box deal, then maybe you start to go down the field a little bit with your weapons?
I wish that was their plan. I don't know that that's ever been this team's plan. I don't think they're going to change it. I just don't. I understand the concern. I said it, look, I respect Terry's opinion. Don't agree with everything he said, but I respect it. And I just honestly think that there's a belief. It's almost like, and I'm not attaching this to Harry, okay, but I believe in general a lot of the fear that you hear about this team, about Washington, they bring up the defensive line and the defensive line only, as if that is the only thing that's going to change everything. The whole game is because of that. Look, they don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. All right. Yeah. If they don't know who their quarterback is going to be, the defensive line is good. Okay, no doubt. Yes, I agree with you. 100%. I agree with you. I'm not arguing with you about that. But I'm saying everybody keeps talking about Chase Young with 7 sacks. All right. When the Buccaneers defensive linemen have more than the Washington defensive linemen. So to me, you're looking at Washington and saying, okay, look at what they've done against, and I'm saying bad teams. Okay. And they've played a lot of bad teams. And I get it. Look, the Bucs beat the Falcons twice in Detroit in the last several weeks. Okay. Mm-hmm. I get it. All you can do is the best you can do against a bad team. And if you perform well, great. Okay. But they're 7-9. Chase Young has 7 sacks. The defensive line has done a good job, no doubt, but they don't have anything else. And the Buccaneers go stacked in so many ways. I don't understand how Washington is going to score much at all against Tampa. And, I get it. Okay, I heard the stat today. They're 5-1 or 4-1 with Alex Smith as the starting quarterback. You don't even know if he can play, or if they're probably going to be alternating because he's not healthy enough to play the full game. This is, I get it. And everybody keeps going back and saying, well, Seattle, when they were 7-9, as if the Seattle team, which is a completely different team in any way, shape, or form, impacts or affects this game.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that, Rick. They are two totally, you can't even compare them. People always say, well, look what Seattle did when they beat New Orleans. That was then. But that's just like when people say, well, Washington lost to Detroit. But Detroit was actually a really good football team. That was the time when Detroit actually went to Arizona and beat them, a game that I had picked. They went to Atlanta and beat them, a game that I picked. And then when they played Washington, I actually picked the Detroit Lions to win that game. And it was a struggle, but they did win. But I need to clarify something. Their defense is nothing but pressure. It's not just their defensive line. The reason why you don't hear a lot about the linebackers or the safeties is because they don't blitz very often. They play a lot of zone. So they're going to sit back there and wait. They actually get pressure with a 4-man front. No disrespect to Tampa's defense. They blitz probably the most in football, if not the second most in football, because they can't get pressure with their front four. They constantly have to stunt. They constantly have to stun linebackers. That's not saying that JPP and the rest of the boys up there on the defensive line aren't any good, but Adama Sue is a absolute image of what he used to be. Okay,
And how does he have that many sacks? How does he have more sacks than Chase Young, who everybody's looking at as though he's the big bad defensive lineman?
That's a great question, because you have to understand when the Washington Redskins are playing these teams, especially in the NFC East, they have been very seriously challenged. They've had more injuries in the NFC East. They've lost more quarterbacks, more running backs, more offensive linemen than anybody in football. So you're going to say, well, why aren't they getting more sacks? Because they're running the ball a lot more against Washington. Washington's defense actually dictates to the offense how they're going to come in and game plan for them. Very similar to the way the Buccaneers play defense. People don't come in to Tampa and play Tampa and say, okay, we've got to get into a running game with Tampa. They come in and try to pass the ball. That's why Tampa's ranked #1 in defense. And I told you now for 5 or 6 straight weeks, and I've told everybody, that's a very skewed statistic. They don't come in and game plan against that. All I'm saying is Washington doesn't have to blitz a lot, and that's how they get pressure. They are going to show a lot of wrinkles. They are not going to be the same football team that you've seen the last 2 or 3 weeks, or even for that fact, for the same part of the year, because Bruce Arians is an absolute offensive-minded genius. Even though I do not agree with the way he calls a lot of plays, he is studying a lot of tape on Washington. He knows exactly what their tendencies are. If Bruce Arians runs a lot of 5 wide receiver sets, that's not going to be good for Tampa, because then they are going to get pressure onto Tom Brady. Their left tackle is going to need a ton of help in this game. And that's even if Chase Young's it doesn't make a difference if Chase Young's on top of him or not. If they know they're going to be passing on every single down, they are going to be coming, and they're going to be coming really hard. But if Tampa's smart and they start to run the football, and we've been begging for it all season long, and it's just not happening. I mean, the entire running attack is a victim of volume. Let's face it. And Ronald Jones is their bell cow. But if you don't give them the ball 15 to 20 times a game, Tom Brady could get hit a lot in this game. And that's what I'm basing my opinion on. Not because that's what I think. That's what I see every time I'm doing and watching game tape on who Tampa's playing. So I kind of bounced all over the place. I do agree with your as and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, as the common fan in football that's not really sitting down and digesting tape.
I understand, but what that does, it kind of, but Harry, what you're doing is you're basically discrediting what I'm saying, because I haven't sat down and digested tape like you have.
Right. No, I'm not trying to discredit. And that's why the apology was first in the beginning, because I didn't want you to take it that way, because you look at it like a lot of people look at it, and they're saying, okay, the record is 7-9. They haven't beaten very many good teams, and those are all true facts. Those are 100% true facts.
But you make a comment like, okay, they lost to Detroit, but Detroit was good. They were 5-11 this year. When were they good?
When they beat them in one of those games, they were actually rolling.
That day. Okay, that day.
They weren't injured on the offense. You had Kenny Galladay playing. You had a full strength team. You didn't have their left tackle wasn't missing. I can go down the list. I can go in the other room, pull it all out, and show to you. Their defensive starters weren't decimated like they were when they faced Tampa at that point in time. That's why I've always said, in handicapping and gambling, it's not. You can't play with your heart. You have to play with what you're looking at and what you're seeing.
Sure.
And that's what I'm trying to say. And the average person only sees what they're actually watching one time. You really have to go back and continue to digest it. Look,
right, but that's where you're discrediting everybody else. And it's just, I'm sorry, it doesn't, Harry, I love you to death, brother, but you're not the almighty guru.
Nope.
I mean, we all have very valid knowledge and opinions. I've been on the field watching these games. I've been there. It's not like I'm ignorant on this. I'm not some fan sitting back doing nothing.
you're taking it to a different level
Well,
here.
but what I'm
Hold on, pal. No one's calling you ignorant.
no, I
love you.
get that. I know
Okay?
you're not.
And
No,
don't
I know you're
patronize
not.
me.
But what?
You
But
don't have to patronize me, Rick.
I'm not patronizing you. What I'm
Okay.
saying is when you're saying, unlike the average fan, I break down tape. I do all of this, so I know what I'm talking about. You're by extension, you're saying, and everyone else doesn't. And that's all that I'm saying here. And I've started all this, and seriously, I have no desire to argue with you tonight. None. All that I'm trying to say is this. There's an entire season worth, there's a body of work that you see from Washington. Okay. There is an entire body of work, success, non-success for the team. Okay. Now there are reasons for all kinds of things that happen. There are reasons the Bucs were losing early. There are reasons they were winning later. There are reasons Washington won some games, reasons they lost some games. All of that is true. I'm saying, in essence, they are who we thought they were. Okay, that entire mentality right there. Okay, that you look at a team over a year of 16 games, 17 weeks, and you get some kind of an idea of whether they are good or not. Okay, Washington, they weren't that good this year. Okay, the Buccaneers going in with momentum. Washington is not going in with momentum. They were given a game at the end of the year, and they lost the two previous to that. They don't know who their quarterback is even going to be. All right, they've got a lot of things working against them. So, do I think that means you take them lightly? No, you don't take them lightly. Absolutely not. You don't take them lightly. You cannot do that. Any team can beat anybody on any Sunday. A very bad team can beat a very good team. And it's an oblong-shaped ball that can bounce in weird ways. You don't go in and take this game lightly. You're not looking at next week. You beat the crap out of this team. And that seems to be Tom Brady's mentality. And I will put Tom Brady against what's Alex Smith and who's the other guy?
Taylor Hickey.
Yes. Okay.
The two of them together don't make Tom Brady.
Well,
Even in Tom Brady's rookie season.
Right.
Look,
so I just look at it and I go, I don't get it that it's going to be that close. Listen, I'm not one who says it very often. There are many, many weeks I don't say this, but this reeks of blowout to me.
Oh, yeah, it very well could be. But, and I will say this, okay, that's why I'm picking over 3/4 of the games correctly, because I give an objective opinion. I don't turn around and say, okay, the daisies are going to be here and the roses are going to be over here. Tampa's a far better football team. But certain matchups are not in Tom Brady nor this offense's wheelhouse. They struggle against defenses like this. So I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to come out of the gates, they're going to blow them out. I hope it happens. I'm a Buccaneer fan. I'm being paid to give objective opinions like that. So when I hear that Tampa's defensive line is better than Washington's, I'm going to have to give you my take on it.
No, and that's fine. See, your cat, I think, is mad at me too.
I think
no. I had two cats just fight each other just now. Look, you see the hair flowing around? Oh my God!
Harry's taking action on the cats.
You and right now are just going at it. Let me just go ahead. Let me get you guys.
That was the perfect sound effect, wasn't it?
Right. Well, exactly. I need to get that sound effect. Let me just say this.
Did you hear that?
I want to say this right now. This is the perfect time for this. Harry?
Yes, sir.
If you are right, well, I'm not sure. Are you saying the Buccaneers are going to struggle or not?
I said they're going to struggle probably in the first half because of the defense, just like they did against New York, just like they did against Atlanta, just like they did against the New Orleans, and Kansas City. The only thing that they don't have in common is two of those teams don't have a very good defense. But on the bright side, Tampa's come out 2 straight games in a row, and they've put up a ton of points in the first half.
Okay. That's fair. One way or the other, I'll buy you a beer this weekend.
How? Let me see.
That sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and fire the cannons on that.
I'll buy you a beer at the deck this weekend.
I hope I'm the one that's buying you a beer, Rick. I'm hoping they go up by 25 by the first half. But I was just giving an objective opinion on what I'm seeing. I just don't want I just don't want people to take this team lightly. I just don't.
Well, definitely nobody's taking this team lightly. We're on with Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats. What's cooking in the South shows that.
What do I eat at the deck?
Wings. Of
Definitely.
course. I mean,
That's
wings.
what I should get this weekend.
You're coming to the deck this weekend.
I'm coming to the deck this weekend.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Well, he's coming to the deck this weekend. There you go. Rick Hughes will be
Oh yeah.
Sports Web. So there we go. You got Harry the Greek here, my professional handicapper, Mr. 88%, going up by the second, the minute, the hour here on the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. What do you guys think? You guys are just like,
Harry and I are busy having fun here, and look, y'all are quiet. Come on.
Yeah. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Now, I don't necessarily think anybody is taking this team lightly. I absolutely agree with Harry with the whole statement of this defensive line has lots of potential. They put up some numbers this year. With that being said, to Rick's point, this offense has been very explosive lately, and they seem like they're catching their groove. Now, to that point, let's talk about the Washington football team and their quarterback situation, and it's kind of murky here with Taylor Henke taking first-team snaps. You don't even know if Alex Smith plays. If Taylor Henke, who's basically a rookie quarterback at this point to the postseason, because I don't remember him ever being in the playoffs, that's definitely an advantage to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or is it not because they don't know necessarily his tendencies, Rick?
Do I think it's an advantage? Look, the Bucs have struggled against like rookie quarterbacks or whatever for how long? How many decades?
Right.
So, but I don't think this is one of them. I don't think this is going to be that situation. Alex Smith concerns me more, but not in his current physical state. Look, it's a great story that they made the playoffs. It really is, but they haven't looked good in 3 weeks. I don't know why they're going to start now.
Well, I mean, it's. I mean, I'm silent on that. I mean, no Alex Smith. This is an advantage to the Tampa Bay defense over under. This kid throws at least 2 or 3 interceptions versus this veteran defense that has a lot of guys that have been in postseason contention and also won Super Bowls in a JPP. You know, you believe Shaq Barrett was with the Denver Broncos, so he definitely has some postseason experience. This is definitely an advantage for the Bucs, right? If Taylor Henke starts.
I mean,
I'll go to Harry here. Sorry, Rick. Go ahead, Harry.
I got nothing. I want to hear Rick on this one.
Well, wait a minute. You guys are breaking down tape and tendencies and stuff but no Alex Smith, 4-1. Actually,
5-1, Pete. 5-1.
Oh no, we've got to be worried about them. I don't know. I'm scared.
Look, Alex Smith is on one leg, but they got a really good running game. Are they going to be able to do anything? I got them running for about 100 yards between the two running backs. McLaurin's probably going to catch about 70 or 80 yards. I think Washington is going to end up getting some decent field position because of their defense. But as I told you earlier today, Peter, you know, all Tampa has to do is just make sure they're not getting into a field goal kicking game with this team, and they're going to be fine. Because if they do get in the field goal kicking game with this team, it's falling right into the trap of Washington, and you can smell upset. I don't see that happening though. But I can't bet against tendencies, and I don't hedge. You know, as we were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. If they come out and score a lot of points, they're going to blow this team out completely out.
Yeah.
But you know, 8 straight games, they didn't come out of the gate strong. That's all I'm going to say. If you don't come out of the gate strong.
What did Philly score against them?
Oh, Lord, they scored pretty well. So did who'd they play prior to that? They've definitely been giving up some points defensively.
And it just makes me think, really? I mean, if
Philly scored 14 against them, and Alex Smith in that game only had 162 yards, but who knows? Because here's the thing. We can look at records all day long. The Bucs have 11 wins. The Washington football team has 7 wins. But at the end of the season, it's now the postseason, which means 0-0. So we've seen it. We've seen teams play down to it. We've seen the Bucs play down to their competition. Yep. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen because I think they're in a gear. But again, to Harry's point, because of that defensive line, it definitely gives you some type of pause because they are talented and they can get after it. So the Bucs, once again, they have to keep that pocket clean for Tom Brady. But whether Evans plays or not, I think the Bucs are definitely in good shape. Now, that's the other story. Mike Evans has not practiced yet, Harry the Greek, my professional handicapper. What's your percentage that you think he plays in this game, over under?
I'm going to be honest with you. I really hope he doesn't play in this game. That sprain hurts a lot. They're not going to need him. They are, as your buddy says, they have a plethora, as Ray Kennedy would say, of
Tampa Bay
wide
Ray
receivers.
Kennedy got it wrong. It's
Okay.
plethora. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy.
Plethora. I have to give a shout out to my boy Tampa Bay Ray. But anyway, as far as Mike Evans, it wouldn't surprise me if he plays. I just don't think they're going to need him. But what I found really interesting is Shady McCoy practiced this week, and he wasn't in. And he was listed on the injury report, but it was non-injury related. That's it's almost like kissing your sister. I don't get what that means. And Carlton Davis was limited, by the way, this week, and I'd be really surprised to see him playing because they didn't get a chance to see him in the that final game of the season. They don't know how that groin's going to be, and they don't really want to take a chance. But as far as Mike Evans, I don't know if I'd be playing him this week.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Evans, to me, I don't know if he's going to play this week, but you would expect Carlton Davis here, Rick, to play because he has had some weeks to rest here, and you definitely want him versus a Terry McLaurin. Ricky said it best, and that would be Ricky Reynolds, former Buccaneer great. His biggest concern is the secondary. Is that also your biggest concern with this team going into the postseason? That secondary, and if they get Carlton Davis back, does your concern kind of go by the wayside, or do you still have it?
My this team is so schizophrenic. I think that's my concern with this team. I mean, they can play against a team like the Rams with Aaron Donald, and you don't even hear about him. And then the next week they're doing something completely different, radically different. Now, look, they seem like they're hitting their groove now. Brady's timing with the deep. Remember the conversations about Brady not being able to hit the deep ball earlier in the year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's hitting it now. I just don't know what to expect. The thing that scares me, if anything, is what Buccaneers team is going to show up.
Yeah.
That's the thing that scares me. I'm not really concerned about any one particular facet. I'm not concerned about the running game. I'm not concerned about stopping the run. I'm not concerned about, Brady. I'm not. What's that?
We got a caller. Let me go ahead and save that thought. I didn't want to interrupt you, but let's go out to the phone lines. You're on with yours truly, Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats, What's Cooking in the South, and of course, my professional handicapper, Mr. Harry the Greek. What do you have to say? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Deshaun, calling from Gwinnett County, Georgia. How are you doing tonight?
What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Not much, man. Hey, just listening, catching a little, caught a burger for dinner, and then I was just listening into the show, and I was like, listen, Tyler Hankey from right here, Gwinnett County, Georgia, Collinsville High School. I'll be more than happy to see him than Alex Smith. The game.
Well, give me the scouting report here, Deshaun. Tell me what his strengths and his weaknesses are, besides the fact that I don't even think he's played a lot of snaps in the NFL, let alone a playoff game. Playoffs. That's right, Jim. Playoffs.
Playoffs?
Yes.
We'll talk about playoffs.
Listen,
You kidding me?
Not
Yeah.
yet. You kidding me?
Right.
He's Old Dominion. He's that Old Dominion. He's from Collinsville, Old Dominion.
It's a powerhouse right there, buddy.
Carolina. He was with Carolina. He didn't get a bunch of snaps there. Of course, he was sitting behind Cam. Then he got some runs. Then then they got rid of him. I mean, he can make some mid throws. Obviously, he can make NFL quarterback type throws. He's preferable to the he's a Matt Ryan-esque, but a little more mobile. So he likes to throw deep in cutting routes, digs and so forth, and posts. Those are like his, and up the seam. Those are his strength throws. He kind of struggles making decisions on outbreaking routes, corners, and outs and comebacks and things like that for the outside.
Wow.
And he tends not to drive the ball. So sometimes he will have balls sail on him and they cause interceptions for him. That was his, that was pretty much his knock for a long time.
So basically, he's a worse version of Alex Smith without all the experience.
Pretty much. He is Alex Smith. Yeah, I would say that he's a worse Alex Smith. I mean, he's still in the NFL, but even if you look at his body of work, I mean, it speaks for itself. Like Rick said, you at this point you're looking at what people have done. But listen, I mean, I want to address Washington to this stat. I haven't heard many people talk about it. I know we're very critical of Tampa, but Washington is 1-5 against teams that are above 500, and right now we're above 500. So
Yeah.
I mean, all that Chase Young's talk is, they've had that same. Everyone's how you get everyone on your D line to be a first round draft pick. You keep losing.
Right.
That's kind of that, Deshaun. Thank you. That's kind of exactly what I'm saying. Is I hear you about the D line, but it's just you look at the overall body of work, and it's like, really? I mean, it's okay. Maybe okay if they can get pressure on the quarterback, that's fine. But it hasn't translated, and that's what I think is my.
Well,
My-
to be
right.
fair, to be fair now to everybody, Dwayne Haskins started the majority of the time, and then you also have the greatness of Kyle Allen, who should be Bruce Allen at this point. He's not very good. Both of those guys, not very good quarterbacks. In fact, Haskins not in the league anymore. So who knows?
Well,
if Alex Smith would have started the majority of the games, maybe it would be different. Alex Smith looks like a shell of himself, but now
the leg might have fallen off.
I mean, right. I get it. It's a great story, but it is what it is. And I'm going to tell you the truth, like Harry's saying, I don't think this guy is any good. And I feel like Shaq coming back, and that's another big story here, guys, that we can address. We're on with Deshaun Tisdale here. You're supposed to have a new show tonight. Did you you come down with something? You're going to have it next week.
No, it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
What am I thinking? I'm so sorry, man. I'm putting you on the spot. I'm throwing you underneath the bus already.
That was a layup right there, Pete. I'll take that. Hey, guys, tune in tomorrow, 7 p.m. Be right here with me, Deshaun's 411, right here on the Bucs Report.
See, that's why I'm a host. I don't know why I'm a host, but that's the reason why right here I'm a distributor. I'm like your Jason Kidd. I'm like one of the top point guards in the NBA that can actually play defense. And it's not like James Harden. Okay, enough of that. Seriously, he can't.
And James Harden doesn't travel either, Peter.
That's it. Well, yeah, James Harden definitely travels. They need to instruct a rule for him.
They already have one. It's called the traveling rule. They just need to apply it.
They never enforce it.
They never enforce it on him.
Never.
I'm not kidding you. Peter knows what I'm talking about. Maybe you do too. I don't know, man, but it is ridiculous to watch that guy play.
Well, my dad was alive because he didn't watch.
You get a couple of stars, they don't enforce traveling on you.
My dad.
Like every one of these dudes, if you're big enough, you don't travel if you're doing your signature move.
To upset my father, he never watched the NBA after Shaq left Orlando. That's the reason why he stopped watching the NBA. After that, he was like, "Oh, it's sports entertainment." So I turned on the game one night to really piss him off. And he's like, "Why are you turning this crap on?" And I'm like, I want you to see what the new NBA is. And he's watching James Harden. He's going, "That guy just took 4 steps. That's traveling." New NBA in whatever it was. I think it was 2016 or 2015, something like that. He was just shaking his head. I can't believe this. I'm like, yep, this is the NBA. All right.
Dribbling optional.
Yes, exactly. So we talked about the quarterback situation. Rojo running for me should be the game plan. In your opinion, Deshaun, do you feel like this could be the game plan where they come out and run the ball, where they take the pressure off of Brady? They also wear out that defense that we've been talking about, that defensive line that can get after it. And then also you screen them up. If there are guys that are going to be able to get after it athletically, you wear them out, you use their aggressiveness against them, and you use some screens. Could you see that in this game, Deshaun?
I think we will see screens, but not necessarily running back screens. I think what we're going to see is a lot of smoke screens, which are just wide receiver, slot receiver type screens. We may see the tight end screen. You saw it a couple of times, or set up a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. I also think that the run game, to one thing that Harry's continued to say over the past couple of weeks here, that I think the run game is going to be huge. For exactly, and kudos to Harry, the Greek, for bringing this fact out. And he said, I can't take credit for it. Listen, if you want to save Donovan Smith over there against Chase Young or any one of these young stud bulls that they have out there on their defensive front, you have to make the game. You cannot have it be one-dimensional. So you'll see Tampa come out, as we've done this last couple of weeks, as this offense has turned into this juggernaut, able to score 40 points a game. You've seen them do everything. You've seen them line up in 12. You've seen them line up in 13 personnel. You've seen them go full spread. And you've also seen them come downhill. And here's what I've noticed. If you guys haven't noticed it, our running backs, instead of just popping everything directly through the interior gaps, they're now bouncing it to the outside.
I've seen
they
that.
They haven't been doing that all season.
Yep.
They have not been doing that all season. This is a new wrinkle for the playoffs that is now going to make this team so much more dynamic. So when you saw what Rojo was doing in that last game with the 78 yards, almost to get his 1,000-yard season, but he couldn't do it because Deshaun 4-1 said that he wasn't going to make it, and he didn't. So you can give me the
this is what you get right here. You get that smoke, and you get that right there. Because you cursed the victim of volume. He should have got it. Unfortunately, he didn't necessarily get it. And Bruce Arians had some comments today. In fact, it was paraphrasing here. It was an incentive base to Antonio Brown, and they didn't want to take the chance on hurting Ronald Jones. And you can understand that with him playing with a fractured pinky. He's definitely going to be one of your big parts of this offense. So without all that being said, you look at the other running back in that situation. The fact that two running backs, guys, we kind of talked about it. J.D. McKissick, 80 catches this year out of the backfield. You also have the talented rookie in Antonio Gibson, who's averaging 5 yards a carry. Deshaun, in your opinion, should this be a concern for this Bucs defense, or once again, do they have this under wraps because they are so good against the run, in your opinion?
Well, I think one of the things that is going to come out here is people say we're really good against the run, and we are, but we're kind of like that bully that people don't try because they've heard that we were good. So when you get a team that all they have is this, that's what they do, and that's what happened with the Vikings. Some people say, "Oh, well, we didn't have a 100-yard rusher against us," and then Dalvin Cook. And well, guess what? This is what the Vikings do. If we played Tennessee, they would run the ball on us.
Sure.
Why? Because that's what they do. They don't do many other things. And when teams are looking for their identity and trying to be their best selves, they have to do what they do best. I think that this Washington team is going to line up in their 13 personnel with their double and triple tight ends as they do, and they're going to attempt to run downhill on us, and we're going to have to continue to man up on the outside. Our safeties are going to be I think they're going to be, and they're going to have to support the run more. And we're really going to see their gap control, because what Washington tends to do is they show you that they're going to the right with their heavy or their overload looks,
and then they go the other way.
But if it gets congested, they'll bounce it back or cut back or bounce outside, and your linebackers and your safeties have to be able to get over there to contain that. A lot of people get caught in that wash. I think our secondary is fast and agile enough to do it. I know Levante David is fast enough to get out there. Minter is great as a thumper coming downhill, but him scraping over the top, he doesn't have the same speed that Devin White has. That's where he's going to need a safety or corner outside for run support. It would be great to have Carlton Davis out there. He's definitely the bigger and more physical than Cockrell, but we'll see, what we have out there.
All right, Deshaun, really quick, let me go ahead and Rick's got to get out of here. So, Rick, I want you to go ahead and promote your shows that are on Bucs Report. Once again, thanks for your time, but promote your shows before you get out of here, buddy. Oh, wait.
Oh, hey.
Hold on.
There we go. Sorry. Sunday night, we've got the craziness of live from the cheap seats. That just it's a whole lot of fun. It gets crazy. It's a blast. Tuesdays and Saturdays, not this Saturday, we have What's Cooking in the South, where we talk about basically it's the intersection of food and football. Now it's sort of as Ray Kennedy put it, what's cooking in the playoffs. So that's sort of what we talk about. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And I appreciate you having me around tonight, Peter.
Absolutely. Love your time. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Sports Web. You and Harry, I've got to have you guys meet up on Saturday.
Saturday it is.
To get out here on the Sports Web, but here can settle all that. Good stuff, Rick. Thanks a lot for your time. Appreciate it.
Have a great night.
Hey, Rick, we'll see you around.
Yep.
All right, so there you go. That's the big news here. We got Deshaun Tisdale here, new show coming up on Bucs Report tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, the 411. And, of course, we got Mr. Harry the Greek, my professional handicapper here. So go ahead and finish your thought. I'm sorry I interrupted you, Deshaun, but I had to get him out of here. Go ahead.
No problem. So, hey, guys, I mean, I'm just super excited for this game. I don't think any Buccaneer fans have anything to be sad or to hang their head about. I think this is going to be an awesome game. I could foresee this game being a blowout because if this game could go Tampa's way, even just a little bit. So let's look at it. I'm going to give you two things before I get out of here. When Tampa starts slow, we're in a field position game. We're still in the win or the plus, if you will, if it turns into a field position game, because our defense against their offense, we're stopping them. That winds up being a win or a push. There's nothing bad that happens to Tampa in a field position game early if we don't have our sea legs, if you will, because we came off the plane. But if we come out and we're firing on cylinders and we can spread them out a little bit, just with the bluff of Mike Evans playing, not even going to him, but just the fact of him being on the field with them having to count a safety over the top of him and put one of their better cover corners on him, that leaves Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, and any one of our two tight ends that can come out here, including, or 4 tight ends, because I know we'll have our other blocking tight end up this week. That leaves everyone open. And what that does for Tampa, in my opinion, and I'll get off and listen to you guys, but what that does for Tampa is that puts us in a plus and in a mismatch advantage over them. So we go down, we score 2 scores, 3 scores. Now they can no longer stand behind that run game. They have to get out and put the ball in the quarterback's hand. That makes our defense able to tee off. That gets our blitzes up. That gets everything in Tampa's benefit. So to me, if that happens, if we can push the point, you know why you look at this Eagles game that they just had. They're doing their best in this Eagles game. It was a close game. They were still able to run the ball in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
it's a close game. If that happens at halftime and Tampa's put up 21 points, we're talking about an offense in Washington that does not score a lot of points.
Nope.
Generally, if Tampa's able to put up 21 in the first half, they're already in trouble. Then you can see no one at that point, Pete, will be a victim of Valium, because you're going to get a heavy dose of Rojo. You're going to get Keyshawn Vaughn. You're going to get Leonard Fournette. And we're going to be going to town, because what I can see right now out of DA and this Tampa offense is it's all gas, no brakes, baby.
Oh, yeah.
It's
No, I
all
agree.
Gas, no brakes.
I love
I
it.
agree. Before he goes, Peter, when he was talking about the 3 tight end set, they ran that play in different various formations 11 times against the Eagles. Okay. 5 of those times they threw the ball. Just to let you know, because every time they started noticing that the Eagles were bringing the safeties up in the box because they had the 3 tight ends in, they were trying to stretch the field or hit something right around the flats because they didn't know where the blitz was coming from. That's why Philadelphia was so successful against Washington in that game. And that's what Tampa has got to avoid getting into, is that trap, because when they do bring that extra tight end, or all 3 of them coming into the game, in 99% of the times, most teams are going to run the football. They're going to say, hey, we're running the ball. You know where it's coming at. Stop us if you can. But Rivera's been throwing that wrinkle in as of late, especially in the past couple of games where he's been dumping it off.
Well, of course. And you got J.D. McKissick, who had 80 catches. So that will be a running back that the Bucs definitely have to worry about. And you kind of worry about the wheel route, especially with this linebacking crew and without a Devin White. So that may be something to watch for, and maybe the dump offs. But you're exactly right. If the Bucs can get up in this game, it'll be tough for this Washington offense. They got McLaren, but you heard Ricky Reynolds himself. You can double up on him. Who's the other guy on the other side? I don't even know who the other guy on the other side is. I know they have Logan Thomas at tight end, and I also know that the Bucs linebackers struggle with tight ends, and Bruce Arians is very familiar with Thomas because Thomas used to play quarterback and now he plays tight end. So
they're not gonna struggle with these Washington tight ends. There's nothing on this offense
at all.
The only thing that
are going to have big days with these tight ends.
Okay.
The only thing that Tampa may have a little struggle with is going to be their running game. That's it. Not even McLaren. Unless the running game is effective for Washington, McLaren will be an issue in this game, and the running backs catching the ball out of the backfield. But that's hypothecating, and I don't do that. I've got no more than 100 yards for Washington combined between the 2 running backs getting in this game. Combined. Okay, so that's why I'm saying they're going to struggle offensively. They just have to not get into a field goal battle and don't fall for the traps. They're a very vanilla offense, but I just don't want to see Brady back there having to pass the ball 45 times when you don't have to. If they can come out of the great strong and they can score 10 to 14 points in the first quarter, now they can go to a 50-50 balance attack, and now your quarterback's going to sit upright the entire game. But if the game's tight, and Bruce Arians, of course, you know just as well as I do his tendencies, he wants to pass. That's when you can get your not mobile quarterback in a little bit of trouble.
That's right. You're exactly right. All right, Deshaun, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow night here at Live on Bucs Report. Once again, go ahead and promote your show.
No problem. Hey, it's going to be Deshaun's 4-1 right here from 7 to 8 tomorrow evening on Bucs Report. Tune in and be ready for some great information with Deshaun Tisdale. Deshaun's 4-1.
All right, there you go, Deshaun Tisdale. Welcome to the Bucs Report family, my friend, and thanks a lot for your time here on the Sports Web. All right, boss?
All right, now fire those cannons.
Oh, absolutely. We shall. There you go. Fire those cannons.
Let me tell you something, Peter. This Deshaun, I've talked to him a couple of times. Extremely knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he knows the X's and O's of these football games and these football teams. And it's just not the Buccaneers that he knows. He knows all the football teams in the National Football League. I'm telling you what, I can't wait to listen to his show tomorrow night because he is a plethora, not plethora, Ray, but a plethora of information.
All right, good stuff. Again, the news of the day, we'll have Rick Hughes out there at the Deck Bar and Grill, and we'll see how many other people we're going to have at the Deck Bar and Grill. Once again, join us out there on Saturday night, starting at 6 o'clock for your pre-show here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. We'll have your half show, and then, of course, your post-game edition, no matter how late it is. We don't got to work on Sunday. I don't got to work on Sunday. And we're talking about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers with most likely a win. Let's go back out to the webheads here, read these comments, and then we'll get back to Harry the Greek, our professional handicapper, Mr. 88%. I love this guy. He knows his X's and O's. He gives me percentages. I ask him a question. He tells me it. He doesn't sugarcoat it. I like that here on the Sports Web. He's a straight shooter. All right. The last 4 weeks, their offensive line has been balling. That would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't believe that they will pressure Brady that much. Mike says, Eric, I found Zubez creamsicle item number. Goodness gracious, you guys in these Zubez pants. Who is the quarterback? Do they have a team name? It is the Washington football team. Yeah, I know. Just seeing how he's doing in rehab, and that would be Vita Vea. No word on him. 80% says Tracy. Bucs time, 12 James. The Bucs may need a dogfight like this to focus them for the divisional round. The Skins backup quarterback could be the X factor in this game if the Bucs sit around in zone defense against a big arm quarterback. The problem is he's not a big arm quarterback. He's not. He's not the next Deshaun Watson. He's not the next Deshaun Tisdale. Hell, I don't even know what he is. He's not Donovan McNabb. He's not really somebody you're going to worry about. He's a backup quarterback for a reason. Tampa just needs to run the ball, says Deshaun. Brian says, yes, Terry, stop it. Christopher says Brady has seen better D-lines with worst O-lines. Okay. Tracy says the last 5 weeks, the Bucs offensive line has been top-notch and getting better. 40-9 Bucs, says Tracy. With Vita Vea, we have a better defensive line. I agree with you. Don't bring the nonsense, Harry and Rick. Laugh out loud. That's okay. I like when they go back and forth. Everybody's like, oh my God, they have drama. No, it's good sports debate. We're all friends here. We're all going to walk away and be friends at the end of the night. We just like to talk sports just like you do. And if you don't want to talk to us, which you should, but if you don't, we can talk all night long. As long as the views are up. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Harold says, I agree with you, Harry.
My hero.
Yes, there you go. Harold. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons for Harold right there. Ray Kennedy says, whoa. Rick tried the brisket. 4-1, says Tracy. Brady says Brady sitting by the third quarter. Tracy again walked through on Thursday, I think he's saying. I believe that's correct. Bucs time, 12 Jameis. They don't need Evans in this game. Schizophrenic is a good word. Bucs time, 12 James. It's okay for the Bucs to start slow as long as they don't turn over the ball. That's another thing. Tyler Henke has one career start, Panthers 2018, and I believe he lost that start, if I'm not correct. Tim says, speaking of bluffs, Do you think the Henke announcement is a bluff and we'll see Alex Smith most of the game? Harry, my professional handicapper, is this a bluff? Is this good gamemanship by Ron Rivera, the coach of the Washington football team, in your opinion?
Take this to the bank. Take this to the bank. This is a bluff. Alex Smith is playing in this game. The only way that Alex Smith doesn't play in this game is if Tampa's defense knocks him out of this game. Okay. You know what? I was never a big fan of Alex Smith, but after not only breaking his leg in a million different pieces and having 30 surgeries, whatever it was, and literally almost dying, threatened never to walk again, to be able to get up, not only walk, run, and play professional sports as the athlete that he is in the National Football League, this is a great story. He will not miss this game for anything.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there from Harry the Greek, my professional handicapper, 88% going up to 89, 90%. Let's see here. Shaq Barrett off the reserve COVID list. Your thoughts on this? I mean, this is a big time get back here. Now you have another pass rusher on that right side, on the left side to help out a JPP. You've seen JPP the last couple of weeks. He's kind of been, especially last week versus the Falcons, hasn't necessarily been, after the quarterback, hasn't had necessarily the pressure, but now you get Shaq Barrett back. How big of a get is this back for the Bucs?
It's like completing a sandwich with peanut butter and jelly. I mean, those two is the peanut butter and jelly of the NFL, because neither one's good without the other. I mean, they're just okay. You bring Shaq Barrett back, oh my God, that's devastating. That really is. That pass rush is so fierce on that defensive line with those two playing in tandem, because they always require one of them to be double teamed. Always. What do you think, Pete? Seriously.
Well, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, if you double team one of them, one is going to be free. And of course, you talk about the middle there with Ndamukong Suh, a Nacho. Hopefully, you get back a Steve McClendon. There's been no word of that. But if you can get him back, then that takes the pressure off, because usually those guys may see a double or triple team. If they see a double or triple team, then you have to deal with the Barrett and the JPP. JPP has been very good this year. Of course, Shaq Barrett, I believe, second in pressures in the NFL, so he can get after it. And if Alex Smith is starting or Tyler Henke starting, I feel like that's a good matchup, because both of those quarterbacks are not very mobile. And if you can keep them in the pocket, I feel like you can have some sacks. And when you have sacks and pressure like that, not only can you cause the quarterback to have those turnovers, but also you get those sack strip fumbles, and those can lead to big plays. So I definitely think that could be an advantage. This offensive line for the Washington football team, nothing to write home about. The weapons, we talked about it, Gibson and McLaren. I mean, if they start out fast, they can definitely bury this Washington football team. But what you worry about, like you said, is the majority of the weeks with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing, they've always started out slow. So let me ask you this, the chicken or the egg argument. Is it the fact of the schedule that the Bucs are playing, and that's why they're getting off to such fast starts? Or has this team finally started to click, and everybody in the NFL should really worry about this offense clicking their heels right into the Super Bowl?
I would love to give you a more concise concise answer with this. I don't know. And I'm telling you this. Look, from a gambler's perspective, I never bet against tendencies, and I hate betting against streaks. But for 2 weeks in a row, this team has really started out fast. And I have to sit back and think, well, who have they played? Okay, they both have decent offenses. I mean, yes, Detroit was completely decimated on both sides of the ball. So I said, okay, just throw that game out of the window. And then I said, well, what about Atlanta? Well, Atlanta's a very aggressive defense, but it's not Washington's. So the common sense portion of my brain is telling me there was 8 consecutive games in a row that this team just wasn't scoring points in the first quarter. And then after breaking down these games from then until now, I think the light switch has turned. I think the play calling has gotten a little bit different. And I think that's why they're being a lot more successful. But I'm not speaking out of both sides of my mouth. I still think that they have faced some very, very inferior type of defenses, just like the Bears did for 4 straight wins. Who did they play? They didn't play anybody with great defenses, and Mitch Trubisky in the offense is putting up 30-plus points a game. Okay. Then they ran into a little bit of a buzzsaw and played a really good game against Green Bay, and they couldn't score all those points. They only scored half their points. Realistically, they still should have put up 21. So do I think they're a 40-point team against this defense? No, I think they might be, 27 to 33 points.
Okay. All right. Let's go back out to the web heads here, read these comments, and then we'll get back to it. I got something right up your alley that I saw on ESPN.com. Thought you would really like this article. Looking forward to Tisdale's show tomorrow. Absolutely. YBN, man, we have a bad record to backup quarterbacks, so this is not a walkthrough game. Christopher Cole, they're talking about rotating quarterbacks in Washington. You know what they say? When you're rotating quarterbacks or you have two quarterbacks, usually you don't have a quarterback. Let's see here. Still, our team doesn't need to think it's a walk in the park because a slow start may hurt us. I don't think this team thinks anything is a walk in the park. In fact, I think this is a new season. Tom Brady is going to be ready, and because of his experience and the Brady effect, that is going to impact not only offense, defense, but also the special teams.
That was my point exactly. They do need Barrett on the other side, because whoever they double team, it's freeing up the other one. Okay, it's just like when Khalil Mack pays for the Bears. He gets doubled and triple teamed sometimes. Unfortunately, he's not getting the support on the other side that they spent $28 million a year for. Okay, but he still has a tendency in getting through, and I don't agree with that. JPP has not been non-existent. From what I'm watching, he's occupying those blockers, and it has really helped the interior part of that line. Okay, to get pressure on the quarterback and to be devastating against the running game. Because remember, when you double team somebody, that means that next person that's sitting next to you is single coverage, and that's Ndamukong Suh, and he can play.
Oh, he could definitely play. He could still play. So to that comment, YBN man, JPP needs help this week because he was non-existent in the past game because of the double teams. YBN says, hope Shaq and McClendon come back. Well, we know Shaq has been cleared off the COVID list according to Buccaneers.com. So there you go. Here he's speaking facts right now. Absolutely. Again, he's my professional handicapper. And he's not only a handicapper, but he's an X's and O's guy. And that's why I want you to listen to the things that he says, because he may not necessarily agree to it, but he will give you something to think about. Okay, I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Harry the Greek, my professional handicapper. Let's go out to ESPN.com. Bookmaker William Hill, U.S., took a six-figure bet on the Kansas City Chiefs. In fact, this article says Kansas City enters the playoffs as the Super Bowl favorite. Guess what? Tampa Bay is the biggest liability for some sports books. In fact, they have Kansas City here, and let me see if I can read this because my vision is horrible.
That's what happened when you turn 29.
Well, let me just read this. I think it's a plus 190. The Packers are plus 450. Bills plus 750. Saints plus 750. And the Buccaneers are plus 1,000. And it says Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl would 100% be the worst case scenario for us, says Nick Bondovich, director of trading for William Hill U.S., said in the post on the bookmaker's website. We're in pretty good shape with most of the teams, but the Bucs are a big loser. Why do they feel like that, Harry? Go ahead and give me the betting perspective, my professional handicapper.
Well, they're getting the Brady effect. It was the same thing that William Hill wrote about the Patriots last year, and believe it or not, the year before with other Vegas sports books, because that's the Brady effect. That's why they think that, because people are going to bet them. I don't know. What did they say that their odds were to get to the Super Bowl, and what were their odds to win it, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it's like plus 1,000. That's what the article is saying, but don't quote me on that. I'm trying.
Tampa's plus 450 right now, and that has cut in half. That is how much money has been bet on the Buccaneers in the past 10 days. They were plus 800 to make it to the Super Bowl. And I was telling Rick about a couple of weeks ago, and I think I might have mentioned it to you. I made a very substantial wager on them not winning it, just getting there. Okay. I also took some other flyers because they were the odds are so sick. To win the Super Bowl, let me go down the list for you. Baltimore plus 1,200, Buffalo plus 650, Chicago plus 7,500, the Browns plus 4,000, Green Bay plus 500. Indy plus 4,500, Kansas City plus 180, and I'm going to assume that's their favorite. The Rams are plus 4,000. The Saints are plus 1,000. Pittsburgh plus 2,500, Seattle plus 1,200, Tampa plus 1,200, Tennessee plus 3,500, and Washington, they're a mere plus 12,500. So you'll know they're the longest shot out there. But Tampa's plus 1,200 to win the Super Bowl. So they're not giving them the respect. In reality, they're saying they're about the fifth best team that are in the playoffs right now. And, they're not getting very much love with the Bucs to win the Super Bowl, but they're getting a lot of love to make it to the Super Bowl.
Interesting. Very interesting there,
And,
Harry.
and those odds are, if you wager 100, you get 450 back for people that didn't know that.
They're saying there has been recent interest in the Buccaneers as well. In fact, there was a $40,000 bet on the Buccaneers to win the Super Bowl at 12-1 on Saturday. As of Wednesday morning, it would be the largest Super Bowl futures wager placed on a bookmaker, behind only a $115,000 bet on the Chiefs that was placed Friday in Nevada. So there you go. That's from the betting aspect at this point. Todd Bowles to interview with the Atlanta Falcons next week. Is there some concern there, not only losing a Todd Bowles as a defensive coordinator, but also a distraction? Because I remember, and this was before the Super Bowl happened, it was the San Francisco 49ers and, of course, the Atlanta Falcons with Kyle Shanahan versus the New England Patriots. Of course, they blew a 28-3 lead, but he was interviewing for the 49ers job. In fact, he was about to take the job. For me, I feel like they shouldn't do that during that postseason. There should be maybe after the postseason, because it is a distraction. In your opinion, could it be a distraction with this team going forward in a Bowles interviewing with the Atlanta Falcons? And do you think it's a good chance that Bowles will get a coaching job in the NFL because of what he's done with this defense the last couple of years?
That's again, what came first, the chicken or the egg? But I'm going to answer the first part of that question for you. Yeah, it's primarily a distraction, but I don't think in their eyes that it's going to be much of a distraction to the Buccaneers. Atlanta would love to have someone like Todd Bowles on the sideline, not because of the fact of his abilities, even though I think he's a really good coach. He didn't really do that well in the New York Jets organization. They didn't really surround him with a whole bunch of talent either. Primarily because of the fact that he knows this Tampa Bay organization, and it could make an immediate impact. Because let's not forget, Atlanta, their offense is stout. They really are. They're a running back away from winning 4 more ball games this year. Okay, their defense was in question, so we know that he can fix a defense, Peter. And they already have a very formidable offense, which they need a running back. So they're not that far away from being a 500 team, or even a game or two above 500, just by merely adding Todd Bowles and putting a running back in there. So yes, I think it's something to worry about for Tampa and Tampa fans.
With the Falcons and with Bowles' success, he's never really been successful as a head coach. He really struggled with the Jets, but of course, the Jets, it's just in the season. So if you're Todd Bowles, even if you get a head coaching position or an opportunity with the Atlanta Falcons, are you wanting to take over that franchise or stay where you're at? Because possibly you could be the next head coach in line. And aren't the Falcons kind of doing what they did before? I mean, they hired Dan Quinn from the Seattle Seahawks. He was also a defensive-minded coach. Don't you have to go where the trends go in the NFL circles with an offensive-minded coach, namely an Eric Bieniemy or a Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills? What do you say?
I think everybody that you mentioned would have a legitimate chance and be really good NFL head coaches. But going back to Todd Bowles, I think the second time around would be better for him, because I think he's learned from his mistakes that he made, especially being so offensively challenged up in New York. That's why I think if they did hire someone like Todd Bowles, he would bring the proper people in to let that entity be alone by itself, have someone else calling the plays, making sure they're fixing the offense, because he would concentrate on the defense. Because 2/3 of the teams in the National Football League would love to have the wide receiver core and the quarterback that Atlanta has. Let's face it, they're definitely not offensively challenged. They do put points up on the board.
Yeah.
So do I think he's going to get the job? No. I mean, because like you said, people like the trends, the new things that are happening in the National Football League, because that's what they think puts people in the stands. But if he ever gets a chance to be a head coach in the National Football League again, I think you would see a different Todd Bowles.
Good point. Do you, again, I don't know if I heard that, but do you think it's a distraction process? Do you think it will distract this team, or once again, is this team so locked in that they're not going to get distracted? Because a lot of Bucs fans remember Monty Kiffin taking a job with the Tennessee Vols, and on Monday Night Football, absolutely getting their doors blown off by the Carolina Panthers in tune, of over 200 rushing yards. Do you think this team would get distracted if Bowles is interviewing for the Falcons head coaching job?
If they do get distracted, I would strictly blame Todd Bowles for that.
Okay.
But being the consummate professional that he is, and the way he's been a defensive coordinator from Arizona to being a head coach of the New York Jets, and the way he handled himself even when he was with the Jets and exiting the Jets. Okay, because if everybody remembers what his exit interview was like, he was never indicting. He was very professional about it. He carried himself very well. He's been a model coach here in Tampa. So nothing is telling me that there would be anything different with Todd Bowles.
If the Bucs feel like they could lose him, do you think that they would sign him to an extension or give him some type of guarantee in the background with saying, look, if Bruce Arians is not going to be here very much longer, you're the coach in waiting? Or, like you said, would they go with the trends of having a Byron Leftwich take over for this team? Should the Bucs take him aside and say, you're the coach in waiting, we'll sign you to a big-time extension so we can keep you in building, because you don't want him to go to your division rival, right?
Yes, but I think that causes a distraction more so than him interviewing for the Atlanta Falcons,
Okay.
because loose lips sink ships. I don't think that would be really good for Jason Light to go take him to decide to say something like that, because that would make other coaches on the team feel, you know, like they're being slighted or left out. Yeah, but everybody knows. I mean, when Tom Brady probably retires, maybe after next year, in my opinion, I think he would. I don't really think that Bruce Arians would, be too far behind him, for obvious reasons. He's been in and out of football a half a dozen times. And, I mean, he's got the GOAT now. They're going for a ring. You're right. It is Super Bowl or bust for this team. And I don't mean bust in a negative way. But to answer your question, I think that would be more of a distraction, making him an offer or taking him to the side to say, hey, you're going to be the next head coach here when he leaves.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. You would hate to lose him, because he means so much to this defense, maybe even more than Coach Arians as a head coach and an offensive mind, because of what he's done to this defense and how he's basically taken the talent here and just made it tremendous, and how they have basically turned it around, because the Bucs, before Bowles got here, was a god-awful defense with Mike Smith and just what was going on. All right. Let's move on here from the Bucs. If you want to talk about the Bucs and their matchup versus the Washington football team, 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about, along with Harry the Greek, my professional handicapper here. Yeah,
Are we going to talk Jim Mora here?
Well, I definitely think we're going to do that.
Playoffs?
Yes.
Don't talk about playoffs. You can't. Playoffs?
Before we get to that, though, Trevor Lawrence today finally declared for the 2021 draft. Where do you see him going? Is it a certainty, if he doesn't, fail all his interviews and doesn't do a bad job at the combine, that he will be the number one overall pick, and the guy that will be picking him for the Jaguars, the $12 million man, and an Urban Meyer? Can you see all that coming together? And then on top of it, is that an astute move by the Jaguars, not only to get a coach that's local, who's coached locally with the Florida Gators, but get a primetime player, and then all that talk goes by the wayside of the Jaguars moving to London?
You know what? Urban Meyer, he's revered here in the state of Florida. Seriously.
Yeah.
It would be a great move for him to go. Do I agree with him making $12 million to coach a team in the National Football League for a year, making more money than some of your players? No. Not at all. But he's going to put people in the stands. People, listen, these owners are designed to make money. Okay. Yes, they do want to win. But when you're spending millions and almost billions of dollars for a franchise, you're trying to recoup some of that money. So you want to put your biggest stars in there. And Urban Meyer is by far one of the best candidates to go to this team. As far as the quarterback, he's going to put a ton of people in the stands. I'll tell you what, not too far away from Jacksonville, and you got Urban Meyer. I can't see how that wouldn't benefit Jacksonville.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And again, I always go back to it. There was talk the last couple of years that Jacksonville was losing so much money and they didn't have the fan attendance. And of course, now you have the pandemic, so it's made it worse that they were going to move to London. But I feel like Trevor Lawrence and the Urban Meyer pairing would really save this team. And then on top of it, with Urban Meyer's offense, maybe it works out because once again, you look at the emulation league and the way that some college coaches have been somewhat successful and some of the systems that are ran by some of these offensive teams, you would think that he would have some success, especially with a talented player like a Lawrence. So we'll see how that definitely works out. All right, let's talk about these playoff matchups. And let's start off with an intriguing one where I really feel like a lot of Bucs fans are going to be watching. This is going to happen at Sunday at 4:40 on CBS. It's the Saints versus the Chicago Bears. Already talk about possibly the Saints being without Kamara. We're not sure yet. It could be a bluff. Most likely he plays in this game, but he's not necessarily 100%. So, in your opinion, what's the over-under? What's the line on this? Give me the prognostication, if you will, Mr. Harry the Greek, my professional handicapper. Can the Chicago Bears shock the world and upset the New Orleans Saints on Sunday?
Yes, they can. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
Earlier in the year, Nick Foles was playing quarterback. Didn't play very well. Akeem Hicks went out late in the fourth quarter when the Bears were winning. Roquan Smith had to leave the game because he had a finger injury. 3 offensive linemen were not in that ball game. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
It went to overtime, and New Orleans won the game by 3. Alvin Kamara didn't go off for a whole ton of yards, and they kept Drew Brees in check. Chicago's defense played really well considering how banged up they were. And they made the New Orleans Saints defense look like world beaters because you had 3 linemen. What am I saying? There was 4 linemen out in that game on the offensive side of the ball. 2 of the offensive linemen were converted defensive tackles that never even took a snap on the offensive side of the ball. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Am I saying that Chicago is a much better team than New Orleans? No, not even close. New Orleans is a better football team. However, if Chicago brings their G defense and you get their rookie cornerback, Jalen Johnson, this is the key to this entire game. 2 players, Jalen Johnson and Roquan Smith. It looks like Jalen Johnson is going to play. Roquan Smith, I'm 50-50 on that, and that is going to be a devastating loss. But if they have Roquan Smith and Jalen Johnson back on that defense, they will have a really, really good game in New Orleans. They'll be extremely competitive. Right now, the line is Chicago's getting 9.5 points, and the total points in this game is 47. Okay? This game should be 54-55. They know Chicago's going to play defense. They know New Orleans is going to play a defense, and they're not expecting that high of a scoring game. I will tell you this right now. If you like the Bears in this game, play the over.
Okay.
If you don't like the Bears in this game and you think New Orleans is going to win by more than 9.5, play the under. That means Chicago's not going to score very many points. But I'm telling you now, expect a big game out of Chicago. And yes, I do believe that they can beat the New Orleans Saints in the Superdome. This Saturday. I'm sorry, they're playing Sunday, correct?
Sunday, yes.
This Sunday.
What's your key matchup in that game? Why do you think the Bears can give the Saints, besides the fact that the Saints have definitely struggled lately in the first round, in the divisional round, where they're basically one and done? Is it the running game? Is it a Mitchell Trubisky? Is it an Allen Robinson? What is it about this Bears team besides, obviously, the defense?
You know what? Besides the defense, I'm going to touch on the defense a little bit. Their key on defense is not Khalil Mack. It's the guy that's sitting next to Khalil Mack by the name of Akeem Hicks, the ex-New Orleans Saint that really flourished when he went to Chicago when New Orleans ran him out of town. And it's personal for him. That guy is a disruptor. He has more tackles in the backfield than any other player in the National Football League. And he's been in the league for 9 or 10 years. This guy just keeps getting better with age. It's unbelievable. The other key on defense is going to be Roquan Smith. I gotta keep touching this because he's in his second full year. And this young man right here is your quarterback of the defense. He is the one who's getting everybody up in their alignments. Another thing, the reason why Chicago on defense plays really well against New Orleans offense, because they frustrate New Orleans offense because they play a lot of zone, because they don't have to they don't have to blitz a lot, because they do get a lot of pressure on the offense. On the offensive side of the ball for Chicago, David Montgomery is tearing it up right now. When Matt Nagy decided that he wasn't going to call plays anymore, and he gave the quarterback coach the offensive play duties, Chicago started averaging over 30 points a game on offense, and David Montgomery's putting up 140 yards a game. Okay. They will definitely try to pound the rock. So the combination between Montgomery and Cordero Patterson, yes, I said Cordero Patterson, who's the wide receiver, who's averaging almost 4.5 yards, 5 yards a carry, even though he looks like a statue going through the line of scrimmage. Every time he's in the backfield, they don't know if he's getting the ball or they're passing it out into the flats. You have Darnell Mooney on the offensive side. He's a little bit dinged up. He's their speed receiver that peels the top off the defense. You have Allen Robinson on one side who's catching everything that's thrown to him, and then you have Anthony Miller working in the slot. Anthony Miller hasn't had the best of seasons. But you knew who's having a really quiet season this year, and this is where New Orleans is going to struggle. Ex-New Orleans Saint, Mr. Jimmy Graham. He's got, I think, 8 or 10 touchdowns on the year. He's catching everything that's thrown to him. Father Time is doing really well. Their rookie tight end, Mr. Cole Kmet's playing really well. And most of all, Mitchell Trubisky is finally getting plays called for him that suit him in this offense. They're rolling him out a lot more. They're running a lot more RPOs, and they're playing fast football. So those are the reasons why the Chicago Bears can beat the New Orleans Saints. And I'm not the only one that agrees with that. So does CBSSportsLine.com. And 3 of their analysts also said the same thing. And CBS hates the Chicago Bears. And they said this is the upset that they think might happen.
With New Orleans, what's your biggest worry? Of course, being Drew Brees, you have Alvin Kamara who could play in this game. You're going to get back Michael Thomas. So with that defense, with all that being said, let's say the offense does struggle, and that would be the Bears versus the Saint defense. Could you possibly see this offense exploding on this defense with them wearing them out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I can see that's Drew Brees back there, but this isn't the same Drew Brees that you've seen in the beginning part of the year. This is the Drew Brees that broke 50 ribs, if I'm not mistaken. Is up to 50 now, Peter?
It seems like it. Yeah.
Okay, it's up to 50 ribs. He's a shell of himself, of what he was when he was playing before. It was really, really apparent against Kansas City. Not very good defense. It was really apparent when he was playing against Minnesota, believe it or not, even though they put up 50-some points. But that wasn't him. That was Mr. Alvin Kamara getting little dump-off passes and everything else. Little different story when you're playing the Bears and against Akeem Hicks and a team that usually doesn't blitz a lot. But I promise you, they are going to blitz him early in this game because they are going to want to get to him. They're going to want to see how nice and tender those ribs are and make him think twice about dropping in 5 and 7 step drops. But look for a lot of zone coverage from Chicago in this game.
I like it. All right, let's go back out to the web heads here. Read these comments. You got Tracy saying, he's saying, goodbye. Bucs time 12 Jameis. It's a distraction for Bulls, that's for sure. Once again, Brady's not retiring next year unless he takes a bad hit. Also, Brady would get a 2-year extension for $27 to $30 million, but better incentives. Knock on wood that he stays healthy. And Bucs Squad podcast with the muscles there, muscling up as we got Harry the Greek, my professional handicapper here, Mr. 88% going up to 89, 90% here on the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, of course, brought to you by the Deck Bar and Grill and Isla de Sol, as we'll have you ready for Saturday night at 6 o'clock for your pre-show. And then, of course, your halftime show and post-game edition of the Sports Web. Definitely be a part of it. Webheads, let's go on to the Seattle Seahawks, of course, the number 3 seed at 12-4, going against the Los Angeles Rams at 10-6. Both of these teams split during the season. Of course, the Rams have been talked about with their defense. They're getting back a Cooper Kupp, but there's some question about the quarterback who's going to play. Does that matter to you? Because the Seahawks have been better with Dunlap, but still they're a defense that's a little bit questionable. And then on top of it, with that Rams defense, Russell Wilson has somewhat struggled this year. Who do you see in this matchup and why?
You know what? There's a lot of teams that have struggled against this against this Ram defense. But I'm going to start out with the lines first, Peter, and there's a reason for it. The Rams are a 3.5-point underdog in this game, rightfully so, because each home team generally gets 3 points, as you know. So that means if Seattle, who's on a roll so far when they got into the playoffs, if they were playing at the Rams, they would only be a half-point favorite. But here's the real surprise here. The total points in this game is 42.5. It is the lowest point total in the playoffs. Okay. In Seattle, they have been playing more inspired defense, but Leopard doesn't lose its spots overnight. Okay. The past 2 or 3 games, they've gotten better. They just didn't magically fix themselves. They have a lot of holes on this defense. If Jared Goff, from what I understand, he did practice today. They said the ball was spinning off his fingers very well, even after having surgery. I don't think it's really going to make. Well, I shouldn't say that. If I was the Rams, I would want Jared Goff to play because he's battle tested. Wolford, even though he did play pretty decent and to his strengths and running the football and running a lot of RPOs, he did a very formidable job and enough to go ahead and let his defense win the game for him and him not to make any stupid mistakes. But if Wolford's playing, I don't think he's going to be strong enough to beat the Seattle Seahawks. So for those reasons, I think the Rams are going to get Goff ready to go. I think the Rams go into Seattle and they actually upset them this week if Goff plays the full game.
And I tell you right now, it's certainly possible if Goff plays. Of course, again, you have a Cooper Kupp coming back, that running game, but their defense is so good that you can keep them in a game even when their offense is struggling. So that's what worries me. But the X factor here, Harry, is Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf. Can Russell Wilson overcome that matchup? And it's going to be DK Metcalf versus a Jalen Ramsey. This is must-see TV.
It is. The first go around, I don't think it's going to be the same as it was the first time. Jalen Ramsey's an extraordinary defensive player, but he's not going to shut him out again. I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, DK Metcalf is an absolute stud. I mean, I'll take odds on that. The guy's probably going to have 5 or 6 catches for about 80 or 90 yards and maybe a TD. Okay. But you know what the most, besides Jared Goff coming into play, I think the biggest injury that they've had that they're getting back that nobody's talking about, which is really, this is the reason why I think the Rams have a chance of beating this team, is because Michael Brocker is coming back. People don't realize that he's been hurt. You could put Brocker back there, Aaron Donald becomes even more of a beast.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have that rotation and adds to the defensive line. And then also, Cam Akers, when they're running the ball with Cam Akers, that takes the pressure off your quarterback. No matter if it's Wolford or if it's a Goff. So if you have a running game there, of course. So you see the Rams going in there and beating the Seattle Seahawks. It's certainly possible. And with that being said, that would mean the Rams, I believe, would face the Green Bay Packers. And if that happens and you have Chicago beating New Orleans, then
Chicago goes. If Chicago beats New Orleans, they did Tampa a favor. Then they go to the Green Bay, and then that means Green Bay would have to beat the Bears for 3 times in one season, which is very difficult to do.
And it would set up the Rams in Tampa Bay.
Yep.
So, wow, interesting. And okay, so let's go on to the AFC there, because then the Bucs would have a home game and they would have it against the Rams. It would be a rematch of the Monday Night Football loss to the Rams. Now, number 2 Buffalo Bills, 13-3, going against the Indianapolis Colts at 11-5. 1 o'clock on Saturday on CBS. The line right now, from what I'm looking at, well, what's the line? What's the point total? And how do you see this game playing out?
This is a tough game to pick, and I'll tell you why, because Indianapolis brings a defense, and I have been absolutely high on Buffalo all season long. Well, I'm lying. The first part of the season, I was more of an observer. Right around week 5 or week 6, I was like, this team's for real. Week 7, week 8, I proclaimed them the best team in football. Okay, in the AFC, even better than the Kansas City Chiefs. But that line is -7. That's a very, very unusual line. I understand Buffalo is on a serious roll, and I think it has something to do with the last game that they played against the Miami Dolphins. If the game stays at 7 or goes to 7.5, I probably have to play Indianapolis. Not saying that Indianapolis is going to win. I'm not making a commitment on that, but that's a lot of points, especially for these two AFC teams, and they both can play defense. If Phillip Rivers can get it going and they can get that running game going, I think Indianapolis can put up a few points on them, but Buffalo's just too strong. And the total points in this game are 51. I don't like either one of those two lines.
And you look at Josh Allen. Stephon Diggs was out of practice. He said he's going to play, so no concern there. For me, the Colts, yes, they have a defense, but the problem is their quarterback is done. Phillip Rivers is done. The Buffalo Bills have a defense. I like the Bills in this game big. Even though the Colts have a defense, they're going to wear out. They're gonna get into where it may be just a case of the Washington football team and the Bucs in the first half, where the Bucs kind of start out a little bit slow, but basically they wear the defense out. The same can be said here with the Buffalo Bills. I think they wear this Colts defense out because of all the 3 and outs that the Bills defense is going to be able to handle versus Phillip Rivers. Let's go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with my professional handicapper here, the Greek Mr. 88% going up to 89. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Chicago.
Hey, brother.
I'm with Tampa, but I only want to make a comment, 2 comments. First of all, these people making a big deal about already having big things, winning records or whatever. If you look at the Chicago game, how many points he lost that game? And he lost because of the penalties. Anyway, if you remember good, he only got 1 receiver in that game.
Sure.
Who's he talking about, Peter?
Well, I think he's talking about. Okay, so you're talking about the Bucs.
I'm talking when the Bucs lost against Chicago. Brady got only 1 receiver that night.
Right.
Obviously 1 leg, and the penalties and all that stuff. But they're talking about he always losing against winning records, but they don't talk about Green Bay. When they beat Green Bay, nobody mentioned Green Bay.
Okay.
You know?
Right.
And another thing is, last year, Rodgers, the first time with the coach, look at the kind of season that he got. Brady, he's been learning in the goal. Playing and learning in the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brady, he did a remarkable job, man.
He has.
I agree. 40 touchdowns, 43 total touchdowns coming into an offense with learning it, how difficult it is, how quarterbacks have had difficulty in throwing interceptions. You only throw 12 in this offense, and then all the time you missed in the offseason. I agree with you, absolutely, and I feel like you could have won that Chicago game if you didn't have the penalty situation. But give the Bears credit. They had a great defense that night. They did everything they could, but all this talk about the Bucs not being able to beat good teams is hogwash. Yeah. They beat the Packers. They beat the Raiders. Yes.
Yeah.
So.
And you know what? This is playoff time.
Yep.
Whatever happened in the past, you couldn't beat teams with good defense. No. This is a playoff. This is a different level now.
Yeah.
Yeah. People don't remember that. People all they're talking is because you know what it is. People hate Brady, that's the bottom line. The bottom line is that, man.
What's your name? What's your name again?
Sam Quinones from Chicago.
Oh, okay, Frank. Thanks a lot for calling, man. Appreciate it.
I have a question for Frank. May I ask him one?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank, are you a Bear fan or a Buck fan?
No, I'm a Bucs fan.
You are a Bucs fan. Okay, cool. Now, since you are up there, do you think that Chicago has a chance to beat the New Orleans Saints, considering that Chicago lost to them already this year and they only lost by 3 and it was in overtime?
Well, the bottom line is if they don't have, and New Orleans might win, but because this guy Breeze ain't got no arm no more. You see when he throw the ball, how the ball goes?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We always say that, guys, but yet Brady still pulls out wins. But you kind of feel like, again, it's a different season with the postseason. Maybe the Bears and that defense can get after him, maybe get him hit a couple of times, and then you're going to see, the backup quarterback, which escapes me right now. Man, who's
Frankie, do me a favor. The next time you're in one of the little places in the South Side, go get me a nice Italian beef, okay? Juicy with sweet on the side.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, I'm with Tampa, man. I'm serious. I'm with Tampa.
Okay. All right. I like it.
I talk about Tampa all the time in Chicago, about the team. You know, I talk to people, Bears fans and everything. You know, I'm really, I mean, I'm realistic. I look at the game
Uh-huh.
and I make those observations, man. You know what? I mean, you have to give the guy credit, man. I mean, the guy, you know, they got so many injuries during the season, and you know, when New Orleans, Brady couldn't lose against any team the first game of the season. They were running crazy. They were the passes, you know, everything. Everything was screwed up. The first,
Yeah.
and they had to be against New Orleans, you know. The second game, we played a little better, you know, and still the team wasn't in the shape what it is now. This is a different team, man.
Well, you're exactly right. It is a different team. They're playing a lot better, especially this last four games. Ever since they've been 7-5, they've definitely turned it on. So, in your opinion, are you concerned, Frank, about this Washington football team, or do you think the Bucs roll on through, not only through this team but through the rest of the NFC?
I think I got faith. I think they can do it.
Okay.
They can do it.
Okay.
I agree with them.
They can do it. They can do it, man. I mean, and you guys are fair, and you look at reality. You know, these other sport people, they you know, and some of them they're ex-players. You know, supposedly they play in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Man, listen, man. I mean, I respect you guys.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That was a great call, Peter.
Also, thank you.
Absolutely. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons. Definitely don't be a stranger. I mean, it's worldwide here. It's from Chicago. It's California. It's Maryland. It's Alaska. It's Hawaii. I've had people call from Okinawa. It's amazing. Let me go ahead and answer this question here. Your thoughts on SMB, Buck Squad podcast. Do you think he holds up? What's your opinion, Harry the Greek, on Sean Murphy-Bunting? A lot of people vary. They feel like he's regressed this year. Lately, he's played better. What's your opinion, and do you think he can hold up in this Bucs back end?
I love this young man. You're talking to the wrong guy if you want anything negative to say about him. This guy plays with such a motor. He should have been a basketball player, man. He never stops. He's constantly ball hawking. Please don't ever lose it, Sean, because if you start thinking, it's going to be a problem and then you're going to make mistakes. Keep the aggression going. He's going to keep growing. He's going to be one of the better players in this league. I'm telling you.
All right, let's go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with my professional handicapper, Mr. Harry the Greek. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's up, Pete? It's Curtis, man. How you doing?
Oh, buddy, Curtis from Newport Richie, one of my favorite webheads. You're on with Harry the Greek, my professional handicapper. I mean, get your pen and paper out, buddy, because he definitely is going to put a little paper in your pocket, if you know what I mean. Go ahead.
I'm down with that. I'm working right now, but I'm calling because what's the plan for Saturday? Are y'all going to be at the Deck Bar and Grill?
We'll be there, buddy. I mean, are you going to be there? Because we'll be there. We'll be on air at 6:00. I mean, if you want to get on the Evolution, you can definitely come out, Curtis.
So I plan on coming on Saturday.
Okay.
Where do I need to go?
You just need to go into the bar. It will be a stage out there. You'll see this guy with a big time beard and a sharp haircut with a camera and lights. And you definitely tap me on the shoulder, and I'll definitely get you on camera. All right, boss.
All right. Well, where is it located? In St. Pete?
Oh, it's Tierra Verde. I'll have to send you the address, but it's the Deck Bar and Grill in Isla de Sol. So little ways.
Well, send me the address, and I'm going to come out.
Okay.
It's real simple. Just take 275 before it's the last exit. Just get off to the right. You're 2 minutes there. Seriously, it's Isla del Sol. Put it in your Google Maps. Look for the Deck Bar and Grill. You'll have no problem finding it. It's really, really easy.
Yeah, really easy, buddy. Maybe about an hour, but it'll be an hour worth your time because we'll get you on the Evolution.
I plan on hanging out with you guys, watching the game with you guys.
All right, man. Sounds good. Sounds real good.
I wanted to comment on what he was saying, though. I actually I kind of agree. I think Buffalo is one of the scariest teams in the AFC, but I think that if we had to play Buffalo, I think that if we pretty much had to play any team in the NFC, we'd beat them.
Sure.
Because Buffalo, don't get me wrong, they're a good team. That defense is really good, but they're predicated on running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And we are very good at stopping the run.
Agree.
especially if we had Devin when Devin White comes back. So, but I agree. We get past Washington, I'm not really scared of Green Bay. I'm not even scared of New Orleans. I mean, what people are failing to realize is the NFC wildcard teams. Those three teams, even the Bucs, are kind of known for their defense. The Bears, the Rams, and the Bucs, they're all defensive teams. So, all the games this weekend, they should be very, very good games, especially the NFC games.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you on that. I think the NFC is not as exciting as the AFC. I think the AFC matchups are actually better than the NFC. But, from what the Greek is saying right now, the Saints-Bears game could be close. I like this matchup. I think there's a lot of Bucs fans out there becoming Bears fans.
Well, if you remember the game earlier this season, the Bears should have beat the Saints.
You agree?
Yep.
They should have with all the injuries they had. So, yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
I like you guys though. The matchup that's most intriguing to me is Buffalo and the Colts. That's going to be a really interesting game.
Well, to me,
anyway.
Curtis, I can't get past Phillip Rivers. I just don't think he has it anymore. I think he's a dead arm. In fact, I think Carson Wentz could go there, guys. And for me, let me go out to my professional handicapper here, the Greek. Over under Carson Wentz is traded to the Colts team. Give me a percentage on this trade happening, because this is what you hear from the supposed insiders. Of course, Howie Roseman doesn't really say that Carson Wentz is his guy, doesn't extinguish that flame. So where there's smoke, there's fire. How much will it take? What's the percentage that the Colts trade for Carson Wentz?
You know what? If Indy was smart, they'd go out and go get him, because Carson Wentz is an automatic upgrade over Phillip Rivers. But I think Philadelphia is going to have a really difficult time getting rid of him because of the contract that he signed. It's going to cost them, if I heard this correctly, and please don't quote me, it's like $50+ million in cap hit that they're going to take, which is just ridiculous. You can't unload that kind of a contract after a season that he's had. Okay.
And I think the only thing that might happen is that Philly is going to have to take half of his cap hit. That's the only way I think Indy would agree to that.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the cap possibly not even going up. It could be going down. But again, you add that extra game. So we'll see how that works out. But guys, and let me ask you, Curtis, and then I'll go to you, Harry. Do you believe in Carson Wentz? I mean, I know you're not an Eagle fan, but should the Eagles give up on him? He's still young. I get it. He hasn't really been able to put it together this year. You had multiple injuries on the offensive line. He has a turnover problem, but when he's had the weapons around him, he's been somewhat of a good quarterback. And here's a guy that was a number 2 overall pick.
But Peter, the team around him stinks.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
The offensive line stinks.
Right.
They're playing with their third and fourth, string wide receivers. The team stinks.
So I guess my question is, Curtis, is it smart for the Eagles to get rid of him for Jalen Hurts, who you've only seen a small it's only been, a small body of work. You have Carson Wentz here. You paid him all this money, and now you're ready to unload him. I mean, is that relationship, in your opinion, that bad where they can't work it out?
Well, I think maybe yes. And the only reason I say that is because you know how the NFL is now. Mm-hmm. The NFL is, what have you done for me lately?
Sure.
Because, I mean, it's like going back to James Winston. He threw for all those yards and all those touchdowns, but you also had 30-some-odd turnovers. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, I agree. I agree.
And it's like Phillip Rivers. Look, I think Phillip Rivers is washed up too, but the one thing I give Phillip Rivers is he's a competitor. He'll go out there and he'll play. You're going to have to drag Phillip Rivers off the field.
No, I agree with that. And then what gives the Colts the advantage, and I know, Harry, you want to talk about this, that running game, all of a sudden they decided to run the ball with Jonathan Taylor, and that's an advantage to the quarterback. In fact, it's the quarterback's best friend. But getting back to Wentz, you watch a lot of film. Should the Philadelphia Eagles give up on a Carson Wentz? Is that a mistake?
My head shake should just tell you everything I'm saying. That would be a mistake. I do like the rookie quarterback that Philadelphia has, but if Philadelphia really truly wants to move on from Carson Wentz, they should do it in a couple of years and just sporadically play the rookie in the next couple of years and just really bring him along. That would be my opinion.
All right, good stuff. What else, Curtis?
I agree with that. And, if they try to build that team around him, and, listen, Alshon Jeffrey has been hurt since pretty much that Super Bowl year. They traded for Deshaun Jackson. What has he done since they traded for him?
Nothing. He's done nothing. He's the most overrated wide receiver in the league. He's been overrated ever since he got to Tampa Bay. He catches one pass a game for 80 yards, and then he's injured or he's a malcontent. I'm done with Deshaun Jackson. I've had enough of him.
And then, the offensive line is one of the worst in the league.
Right.
I mean,
right.
You can't protect him. You can't protect him. You can't run the ball. I mean, what do you think is going to happen to the kid?
Yeah, I don't know, but
it's like the Bucs, for the last 2 years before this year.
Right.
You knew Jameis was going to drop back and throw the ball 50 times a game.
Sure. I mean 41, 42 times a game with a turnover quarterback is just not a recipe for success. And you look at Carson Wentz, before this year didn't really have a lot of problems with turnovers, but you're exactly right. Yep. When you have a garbage offensive line and you're depending on third and fourth stringers, it's not going to go well. That's why you got to depend on your running game, namely a Miles Sanders, but he's not able to stay healthy. So,
and people are just pinning their ears back and just run from the quarterback.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
There's nothing that they can do,
Exactly. And I'll tell you this, I'll make an analogy here. The ruination of the NFL team is when they get one-dimensional. It's just like isolation basketball, right? One guy standing around, four guys watching him, dribble the ball. That's the ruination of the NBA. That's why a lot of people turn off the NBA. You watch the teams that pass the ball and transition and everything like that. Same thing with the NFL. You cannot pass the ball 40 or 50 times a game and win consistently. You may be able to get away with it for a couple games, but you have to be balanced when it comes to playoff football. Playoffs, yes, Jim, playoffs. Absolutely.
Playoffs?
Yes.
Let's talk about playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
Go ahead.
It all goes back to, like they were saying earlier about, the draft picks that the team drafts.
Yep.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And even like this year with the Bucs, it just to show our real Bucs fans out there, look, when you draft offensive linemen, you know what I'm saying? 9 times out of 10, you're going to continue. You have to upgrade that line for us to be a good team.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. You have to go offensive line. You have to go defensive line. A lot of people talking about what the Bucs should do in the draft. I'm not going to get into that, but if you put a gun to my head, Nassau may be moving on. You draft a defensive tackle or offensive tackle.
If you look at it, he's helping Brady.
Sure.
He can stand back there in the pocket and
sure.
do what he needs to do.
Sure.
And then it's helping Ronald Jones because we can run the ball.
Exactly.
There's been games where we ran the ball and it looks great. And then
right.
sometimes you're like, oh, what is going on?
Who could forget the Vikings game? 26 times you run the ball, 23 times you pass the ball. It's not the prettiest win, but at the end of the day, it's a win. You take care of the ball, you play good defense, you run the ball. It's a great formula of success in the playoffs. Good stuff, Curtis. I will see you on Saturday, but of course, I'll see you on Friday first. I'll see you on Saturday night for the Bucs versus Washington football team at the Deck Bar and Grill. Right, boss?
All right, guys.
All right, man. I'll fire those cannons for you. Appreciate you. So, not only have we learned tonight that Rick Hughes will be at the Deck Bar and Grill, but also we learned that Curtis will be at the Deck Bar and Grill. We may have fans out there. Hopefully, we have all of our guys out there on Bucs Report. We'll see. But even if we don't have you out there, we'll have you on screen. And, of course, we'll be taking your phone calls. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web live here on Bucs Report. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with my professional handicapper, Mr. Harry the Greek. 88%er going up to 89, 90%. And if you're not keeping track of some of these picks that he's picking, well, I guess you're just picking your nose at this point because you're missing out on the great opportunity of making some cash money, some moolah like Johnny Manziel used to do. I'm not going to do that. This is silly. That's nonsense. We don't do that. All right. So we done with this matchup when it comes to the Colts and the Bills. Have we? Yeah. Is there anything else we should cover with this team that we're not looking at? I mean, the Colts with their running game, and that's kind of scary. Can the Bills defend that running game if they decide to go with the running game to take the pressure off of a Phillip Rivers?
If Buffalo has any success not running the football, but passing the football against Indy, the Buffalo will literally just run away with this game. But Indianapolis plays an extraordinary defense. And like I said, I don't like the game at Buffalo -7. I think it's too many points. If this line goes up, if you have to bet the game, you got to take Indy plus the points. But if the line comes down a point, point and a half, that's when you go ahead and lay the points with Buffalo. Other than that, it's not one of my favorite games.
And right there, that's my professional handicapper. I mean, his voice in itself is like the voice of God. I mean, that's what I hear right now. When you hear him say something, write it down, keep it in memory, and definitely come back here on the Sports Web, because this guy right here definitely knows his stuff. Let's go to the primetime matchup on Sunday night. The Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns. And, of course, the Browns get in. The Steelers rest their starters. I mean, is this a mirage? They're going to be coaching without Kevin Stefanski there. What's the impact of that? Of course, you could put him as coach of the year for what he's done with the Browns. Of course, the Browns beat the Steelers, but the Steelers were resting their starters. They didn't have everybody in there. So did the Steelers play the Browns, or is this a bad matchup for the Steelers because simply the Browns are balanced with their running attack and a Baker Mayfield?
Let me tell you something. Cleveland's coming to play football. They're going to be playing loose. Pittsburgh is not playing very good football right now, even though I believe they won their last game. There's too many points. Pittsburgh is -6.5 points in this game, and this line's probably going to be 7. You bet Cleveland this game all day, and twice on Sunday. Trust me on this. Take Cleveland and the points in this game, and over 47.
Over 47. Okay. All right. So, and you look at the running back situation with the Cleveland Browns. Of course, you've got Kareem Hunt, you've got Nick Chubb. They have, what's the impact of the coach not being in this game? Is that a big time impact? Are you worried about that loss by the Browns because of what he's done for this team this year?
No, they have other coaches on this team, and trust me, the game plan is going to be Stefanski's anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he does, even though he's not on the sideline, as long as they don't make any boneheaded decisions, not calling timeouts when they're supposed to, play clock, running out because they're not getting the play into the quarterback quick enough. But trust me, this game plan is going to be all Stefanski's, even though he's not going to be on the sideline.
All right, good stuff here. Let's go out to the webheads. Want to read this comment? Ginger Bricks, spelled BRICKZ. I like that. Go Bucs. I'll go ahead and fire those cannons for that. I don't know who that is. Ginger Bricks. I guess that's a Christmas theme. All right, let's go out to the final matchup, and this is a very intriguing one. This will be on Sunday at 1 o'clock on ESPN, ABC. I don't know what the hell channel. Both of the channels, I guess. Tennessee Titans versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens coming in as a hot team right now. But, of course, they lost to Derrick Henry and the Titans. My problem with this is that when the Ravens are down, and if they're down in this game, I'm not sure if they can come back. What they can do is they can depend on that defense much better than what the Titans are. I don't think the Titans are a great defense. So how do you see this matchup playing out? Derrick Henry and the Titans, or Ryan Tannehill versus Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens? How do you see it?
This is probably the hardest game to figure out next to the Indy game versus Buffalo because of the point spread. Tennessee's getting 3.5 points at home. The total in this game is 54.5. I want you to think about that. That's the highest total of all the games in the National Football League for the playoffs. And you're talking about two teams that primarily do what? Run the football. So what they're saying is that both defenses stink. And you and I both know that Baltimore has a very solid defense.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you right now, if I bet the game, I'm going to have a small position in it because I can't help myself. I like home underdogs, always have. I know Tennessee can run the football, and Tennessee is not going to want to get into a shootout with Baltimore because of the fact that they're more of a ball-controlled offense. They're going to try to keep Lamar Jackson sitting on the bench, so they're not going to pass the ball that much. If they have success running this football game, bet the under 54.5. That's my play on this game.
Okay, is this a get over game for Lamar Jackson? Because much has been made about Jackson and his inabilities to basically throw the ball consistently, win a playoff game. So is this finally time with that susceptible Tennessee Titans defense, or once again is Jackson exposed for not being a guy that can throw the ball consistently from the pocket?
That's a great question. Lamar Jackson has a cannon for an arm, but you never know which way that cannon's pointed.
Mm.
I mean, it's just a fact. His biggest attribute is running the football. Tennessee's going to do the best they can to keep him contained in the pocket and try to make decisions with his arm rather than his legs through his arm. Um, I think Tennessee is going to be formidable enough on defense. I think Tennessee, if they can run the ball, they're going to take advantage of the time clock. I mean, the clock in the game, and I just don't see Baltimore. I just don't see him on offense that much. I mean, I could be totally wrong in this game, but there's one thing I'm not wrong with. I know this game is going to go under.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could go under 2, and I'm kind of worried about Tennessee. If they can't run the ball with Derrick Henry, then you have to depend on a Ryan Tannehill. Of course, they have weapons out there as targets and a A.J. Brown and, of course, a Corey Davis. But I believe the Ravens can match up, and the reason why the Ravens loaded up in the postseason is simply for this matchup to shut down a Derrick Henry. Percentage that Derrick Henry goes over 100 yards.
Very high.
Okay.
Very, very, very high. There's only one team that stopped Derrick Henry this year, and it was done in sub-zero weather, literally, and 3 inches of snow on the ground. Big running backs don't have a tendency of doing well, with the exception of Jerome Bettis. I have to throw that in there.
Very nice.
When you have very, very, very large running backs that can run with top end speed, believe it or not, this guy is not only a load to bring down, but the guy can peel the top off of defenses with his legs. I mean, the guy's really got some good burners. He's not a slow running back. So not only is he a north and south runner, he's an east and west runner. He's not just a one cut running back like people think he is. He's very shifty. He can run to the left, he can run to the right. He doesn't have to run up the middle or up the tackles.
Team that's overlooked in this matchup, is it Tennessee or Baltimore? What I mean by that is Tennessee, of course, coming out of the AFC Championship game, much was made. There are a lot of expectations that hasn't necessarily worked out to their benefit. I think a lot of people thought they would be a lot better, but could this team be overlooked to the fact of having the coaching, having the experience where they could surprise some people and actually end up in the AFC Championship game? Or is it Baltimore with their second round exit versus the Tennessee Titans with all the loading up they did in the postseason and now getting hot at the right time? Who is the more dangerous team or more overlooked team in this matchup, in your opinion?
Well, you have to take the home team here, because anytime you have a whole team that's a home team in the playoffs and they're underdogs, they're the team that's being overlooked. I mean, it's just as good as that. I don't know. I'm not in love with Tennessee's defense. I'm not a big believer in Ryan Tannehill. I think he's an average quarterback that knows how to manage the game. His numbers have extremely surprised me with his passing attempts this year, and I think they're very well balanced on offense. But make no mistake, if Baltimore forces Tennessee to have to pass the football, Baltimore wins this game easily.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And I think, look, if Baltimore can get out to a big lead, we all know what they can do with their rushing attack. It's not only Lamar Jackson, but of course, it's a guy like J.K. Dobbins coming out of Ohio State. What he's done for me, you have a Gus Edwards. I mean, they have a plethora. Leo Rayward of running backs and they have some type of record where they've rushed for over 100 yards. So, I mean, this is pretty much their bread and butter. I just wonder if this is going to work out. This could be a bloodbath here, a very physical game with Henry and their running backs, but we'll see what it comes down to defensively.
But these two teams know each other, Peter.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and that's what's not making sense to me. 54 and a half points.
Wow.
I mean, could it go over? Yeah, I guess, but I think they're both going to try to play good defense, and they're going to try to play the game very close to the vest, because Baltimore's kind of playing scared. Tennessee isn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think it would favor Baltimore if it were under, because that's the type of game you want to be in, right? For Baltimore, close game.
Actually, I thought it would be the other way around. If Baltimore really wins this game, I thought they're going to try to put up a ton of points. That's why I kind of like Tennessee in the under in this game. I'm not really in love with taking the points, with Tennessee because I'm not a big believer in this team.
Right.
They have a lot of holes in their team, but I think Baltimore has a lot of holes as well. The one thing I will say, I think both defenses are actually going to come out to the play, and I think, you see, there's two different kind of running games. There are running games that you can put quick points up on the board, and that's Baltimore. Okay, because you have an explosive quarterback like Lamar Jackson. He can peel 30, 40 yards off in 1 or 2 plays. To get 30 or 40 yards with Tennessee, you're talking 3 to 5 minutes. So that's why I think the game is going to go under.
It'll definitely be interesting. Our professional handicapper, Mr. Harry the Greek, thanks a lot for your time. We'll end it here. Any final thoughts on the evolution of Sports Talk Television?
No, it's just a pleasure of having me here. I don't want anybody to think that Rick and I have heat because we don't. It's kind of a love-hate thing with him and I. I respect Rick more than anybody would really know, and I think people kind of get a kick out of it.
Well, we definitely get a kick out of it. We love the debate here. We love respectful debates and going back and forth, and it is all love here because you are part of the Bucs Report family. That's my professional handicapper, Mr. Harry the Greek. Thanks a lot for your time here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, all right?
Have a really good evening, Peter.
All right, buddy. See you soon. There you go, Mr. Harry the Greek. I mean, great stuff. X's and O's, lines, numbers from his perspective. Guys, it's been a great night here. Thanks to all the guests, Mr. Harry the Greek, my professional handicapper, Mr. Rick Hughes, of course, and the Buccaneer great, Mr. Ricky Reynolds. We'll be back on Friday night with, I hear, Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News, and then, of course, your phone calls the night before the playoff matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Washington football team on primetime football, NBC at 8:15. Of course, we will have you ready to go at 6 o'clock at night, live from the Deck Bar and Grill in Isla del Sol. Great food, great service. Do 3 things for me early on this Thursday morning. You ready for it? Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a good night, and we'll see you later here on Friday night on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. See you then.
People that immediately expected you guys to go straight to the Super Bowl. And there were some people that said, you know what, it's not going to work. Brady's too old. It's Tampa Bay. Forget about what's in the script. I want to ask you, player to coach, did you go in telling your team, we are good enough to win a Super Bowl and it's Super Bowl or bust? Or were you one of those coaches that said, hey, it's one day at a time. Let's figure it out as we go?
No, it's Super Bowl or bust. That's the goal every year. Mm-hmm. And you can't get to the Super Bowl if you don't get in the playoffs. So getting into the playoffs was huge for us, and it's been a fun year. There's a lot of football left, and we're really excited to be playing.
Proud of all the guys taking care of business today, but we all know the real season starts now. We'll see you next week. Let's go.
Now let's get it all in perspective. For all y'all enjoyment, a song y'all can step with.
Smells like a lot of trouble.
And there looks Scotty Miller had his hands out.
I mean, he's like a
Down after the timeout. A lot of room to run, but Tom doesn't do that. For the end zone, touchdown for the Bucs, Antonio Brown.
I really thought he was going to Scotty Miller in the back of the end zone, and Antonio Brown sees a ball, and he's probably thinking the play